The girl begged her mother not to die. Everything is fine. She is still alive. 9 times, the girl watched helplessly as her mother died. But this will not happen again. She asked her mother to be patient because she will definitely save her. Just a little more, and she won't lose her mother again, and this time she will be okay. The girl heard voices that said that illness was not a sufficient reason to beat her. This stupid woman thinks she is an empress. She will die soon, and he will not be able to restrain himself when he beats her daughter. He wanted her to be useful for something else, and he decided to think about how to use the child of the previous emperor. This is the ruler of the empire, Reuniting. She was born the daughter of the previous emperor, but no one considered her a princess of the empire. One princess was born with strong magical powers. She was banished from the kingdom of Afret because she could not control them, and that person was the mother of the main character. She was abandoned by the royal family of her home country, and then she met the girl's father, that is the emperor. They fell in love with each other, and Dad genuinely cared about them. But he hid them because he was afraid that someone would try to take advantage of their abilities. The girl was not called a princess, but they were happy, and that was enough until she was 3 years old. There was an uprising in the country. The father, the previous emperor, was killed by his younger brother, who became the new emperor, and a real hell began for them. And the mother tried with all her might to protect her daughter. However, the girl turned 5 years old, and her mother died. However, it was after birth, she awakened magical powers that were enough to even turn back time. The girl tried many times to prevent her death, and after 9 attempts, she succeeded. The emperor was simply horrified and did not understand how she dared to run away. He shouted that they belonged to him, but the girl did not agree with him and said that they were not his things. He couldn't approach her and didn't want to believe it, but it was great. She managed to break the barrier of the imperial palace. The emperor shouted for the guards to quickly catch them and not let them escape. The girl didn't want to see him anymore, so she said with a smile that they wouldn't see each other again. The emperor did not understand what they were doing and shouted at them to hold these two. The estate of Archduke Iveland. This is where the girl teleported with her mother. They are in a different place, so she was very happy that she actually succeeded. Archduke Xenox Iveland was shocked and asked who she was. The girl was immediately happy when she saw him. She finally found him. This is a candidate for her father. The man was shocked and asked again what she was talking about. She asked him to take care of her and her mother. Then he would get the emperor instead. Because the girl is strong, the Archduke did not understand at all how he could agree to anything in such a situation. The girl smiled and said that if he wanted to become an emperor, then she would definitely be useful to him. He had to protect them. He believed that this woman was the mother of this child. They really do look alike. 5 years ago, his wife died in an accident, and it was Allison. Then she appeared to him and asked him to help, and then the man became embarrassed. He hoped he wasn't hearing things, and he had the feeling that he actually heard her voice. So he agreed and decided that he would take care of them. The girl had already washed herself and was lying in her bed. After that, when she woke up, she was very scared. When she looked, she saw that there was a gentleman in the room who was glad that she finally woke up. On the 10th attempt, she managed to escape with her mother from the imperial palace, and it really wasn't a dream. She succeeded, so the girl was considered a good girl. The Archduke was surprised that she had come here and thought that it was a dream, and found it quite interesting. After that, he asked her if she wanted to tell him something. She was a thief who broke into his house. The girl decided that she couldn't let him intimidate her, so she said that she was not a thief. She just came to make a deal, a contract with her family. In return, he would also get a benefit. Then she started talking about her mother, but she stopped because she was scared. Where was her mother? He noticed that it seemed that this woman was also her mother. The girl asked what he had done to her and asked him to give her back to her right away. The girl realized that she was falling, but the master caught her. He noticed that she was quite light, as if she were holding a feather. The girl asked him not to do this and to let her go because she would use force. He believed that she would lose consciousness if she used it again. But the girl was confident in herself and asked if he really thought she couldn't do it. She didn't have time to recover from the strain, so nothing came of it. It's hard to say where the ability she received on her 5th birthday came from, but reversing his time helped her learn a few things. The girl could not heal her dying mother or destroy the barrier of the imperial palace without the magic circle, but the emperor wanted to take possession of this power because with its help, one can surpass even the Archduke. Her body is still weak, so she passed out. She needs to prove to the Archduke that she can prove herself, but then she'll lie in bed even longer, and she can't do that because I don't even know where her mother is. After this, the gentleman asked how old she was, and the girl replied that she was 5. The gentleman noted that she was too small, but the girl said that she knew herself, so he should let her go. The Archduke noted that he had let her go and was asking her to explain what had happened. He wanted to know who they were and how they got here using magic if it couldn't be used in this mansion. He thinks he was being merciful enough when he waited 3 days for her to wake up. The girl seemed to have used too much energy because she couldn't wake up for 3 days and was shocked that he was waiting for this. It's too early for her to trust the Archduke. She said that if she doesn't want to talk about it now, she needs to get her mother back first. She will answer everything later. If he even touches her mother with a finger, she will not leave it so easily. Their death will trigger a mechanism to return to the few days when they were still alive. The girl doesn't know how many times she can come back. She won't be afraid. If something goes wrong, she will throw this life away and start over. The gentleman noticed that there was a lot of life in her eyes. His smile was not warm like his mother's. The girl cannot trust adults, anyone except her mother. She will not allow him to use her anymore. On the contrary, she will use him. All this for her and her mother. The gentleman said that by keeping silent she would only complicate her situation. He is not one of the kind people who still eat uninvited guests, even if they are children or weak women. The girl realized that his gaze was more dangerous than the emperor's. Well, that's even better. The men were discussing the news that Archduke Aveland had started a rebellion but had been caught and executed. He was the empire's finest swordsman. In all 9 attempts, Xenox Aveland never succeeded in becoming emperor. Every time he tried, he was quickly caught and executed. She doesn't know what prompted the Duke to do this, but he is definitely an evil and greedy man. However, he is well suited to the role of protector from the emperor, since he is in principle capable of rebellion. The gentleman asked her if she thought he might have killed her mother. The girl noted that he had said that he did not spare uninvited guests, but if she was alive, then so was her mother. The Duke noticed that she was indeed a very quick thinker. Then her mother knocked on the door and was allowed to enter. The girl was very happy when she saw her mother, and immediately began asking her how she was feeling. She was very worried that she would not be able to see her mother again, and does not quite understand what happened. Mother opened her eyes and was already in this place, and she didn't even know who this person was. The girl said that it was her uncle who saved them, and that he was there when she woke up. The woman asked if it was true, so the Duke said that it was okay to say so. The girl decided that it was better for her not to know that her power had awakened, otherwise there would be big trouble. She remembered how her mother had said that in this place no one would stand up for her, and that this power was not a blessing, but a curse. The mother said that everything was fine, and noted that the kind man called the doctor who helped her. Now the little girl understood why they were not together. She believed that the Duke was that good man. The woman asked how he managed to save them, but the girl suggested talking to her mother about it later, and began to say that her face was very pale. The baby thought that her mother was tired, and therefore needed to rest. She tried to put her mother to bed, and asked her to fall asleep quickly. After that, she turned to the gentleman, and said that she only wanted one thing: a deal with her and her family, and her family is her mother. The gentleman did not understand why he needed this. He was not weak enough to hope for a child. The little girl said that he wanted to become an emperor, and that she would be very useful in this. She didn't understand why he thought so, because it was a message, and even talking about it was a crime, even though she was a child. The current emperor killed her father and tortured them. She is the last one. There is blood of the previous emperor in the room, so it can be useful, and her powers are not determined. He can see for himself when they moved. It sounds good. She may be weak today, an extra emperor, because she is the child of the previous one, but he does not understand what benefit she can bring him. The girl noted that he didn't like the emperor either. He was surprised and thought about how much she knew he needed to figure it out before the situation became dangerous, so he suggested teaming up. The girl said that she was strong enough to break through his barrier, and most of all, she wanted to escape from the emperor, but he didn't like him. So she believed that it was better for them to work together to achieve what they wanted. Only the strong recognize Ivlant, so she must show him her value. And if she shows strength, she will become part of the family. Since he has her time, she asks for one more little thing. He asks him to pretend that he saved them. He should say that he brought her here because he wanted to help. He agreed, but if she doesn't prove her worth, there will be no place for her here. The girl said that this was enough, and she would do it right now. A complex and durable barrier, as you would expect from the house of an archduke, but still easier than hundreds of spells and the imperial palace. It can be broken even without a magic circle, so the girl is confident that she can do it. The gentleman was shocked and could not believe that she was capable of something that even his children could not do. He asked if she could do anything else. The girl said it was her little gift, and she asks him to protect her mother. The gentleman personally installed this burger, and if she can destroy it and restore it so easily, then that means something. He said he just asked to show his power, and it was funny, and it might be useful to him. He decided to see what the future would hold for them. This is his new daughter. When the gentleman opened the door, the Archduke's second child, Alan Avalanche, stood before him. He was delighted, but the Duke showed no emotion and asked how old he would be this year. The gentleman took him in his arms, and the boy said that he would be 8 years old. He noted that he was heavy and she was much smaller and lighter. The boy was surprised and thought that there was someone there. He heard that she was small and he would be able to play with her. The Archduke announced that he would have a younger sister. The boy was delighted and thought that he could joke about her, as his sister did the same to him all the time. But his father did not allow him to do this because she was too small, and he had to handle her more carefully. The gentleman told him not to worry, because things would soon become very fun. The maid was delighted when she saw that her mistress had already woken up. The little girl did not understand who this woman was. The maid came closer and said that she was pleased to meet her, and informed her that Cecilia would be helping and teaching her from today. This is the maid Cecilia. The girl was surprised that the mistress was not going to greet her because she would do it better. Cecilia said that she shouldn't approach people like that. She should start by taking a closer look at who she was talking to. For the first meeting, a subordinate must wait until a person of higher status allows him to bow and greet him. The girl did not understand why she was the first to say hello, since she was a subordinate, and did not understand how she should look closely. The girl could not be sure that she was good or bad, and whether the Duke had really sent her. The maid remarked that she seemed to have no manners. Anyone in the palace who appeared kind at first was actually a liar. The girl can't trust anyone. This has never happened before, so she said that she doesn't believe her. But there's nothing to be done. She was ordered to be treated like the Archduke's daughter for no reason, so she'll have to put up with it. The maid grabbed her hand and did not understand how she got there, but she will have to come through her upbringing. The young lady and master were also raised by this maid. There's no point in shouting like that. They've taken some measures, and no one will come until the training is over. Well, then the youngest son entered the room and didn't understand why it was so noisy there. The noise was unbearable. He couldn't help but go in. The maid immediately bowed, and the boy asked what was going on here. Cecilia said that she was trying to start training, but they did not listen to her at all. The boy was surprised that she was talking about this child, and said that she was a spitting image of a skeleton and very thin. He asked how old she was. She was a girl, and wanted him to speak first. Alan turned to her and said that her older brother was already an adult. He was 8, perhaps. She didn't even know her age. But the girl said that this was not true. So he asked how old she was. She admitted that she was 5 years old, but the boy thought she was a liar. She said that she really wasn't lying, and she really was 5 years old. Alan started saying that she looked like she was 3 years old. The little girl said that this was not the case at all and that she was really 5 years old. The maid turned to the young master and said that he had better leave the room. No one can see her until she finishes her studies. The boy decided to agree. This woman will irritate him again if he leaves, because her eyes are already full of poison. So the girl thought about trying to detain him. He began to believe that she needed his help, because she looked exactly like that and seemed to want to ask him for something. He doesn't really want to help the skeleton, but he decides to try. She just has to ask for help. Cecilia turned to the young gentleman and asked him to speak to me as if she were doing something bad. Alan said that now she is his sister, so she can talk. He decided to try to help her and asked her to call him brother because he wanted to hear it sooner. The girl was surprised, and it seemed to her that only a family member would say such a thing. But the boy was all in anticipation, so she decided to do it and thought it was okay. Alan is the older brother, and she is his younger sister. The girl noted that she had already spoken, so he should keep his word. The master ordered Cecilia to let her go. The maid said it was his lordship's order, but the boy asked in surprise if her father had really told her to bully the girl. Cecilia immediately began to say that she was not bullying. Alan asked her to let her go then, because the girl said she didn't want it. He called her to you and asked her to trust her reliable brother. The baby doesn't like adults and can't be trusted. They only mock and laugh. However, as strange as it may sound, she trusts this little boy. The boy noticed that she was heavier than he thought and asked him to forget about it because she was definitely not 3. The little girl asked him to put her down, and when he did, it hurt her because she even fell a little. The boy was surprised that she was in pain, but she realized that she was also weak, so this would need to be corrected. Cecilia turned to the young master and asked him to stop and return to the room, because they had training waiting for them, as she said. Alan turned to the maid and asked if he was nobody to her. The woman began to say that it was not about that at all. The boy noticed that she said that no one could see her and assumed that he was that no one. The woman began to say that it was just training. The boy pointed out that before the summer she should have at least been fed, but she had not done so. So he ordered her to bring food. The woman kept saying something about learning, but the guy said she couldn't make him repeat. So the maid immediately agreed and immediately ran for food. The little girl was now sure that he knew how to use force, although he looked clumsy. Alan turned to his sister and asked if she saw how cool he was since he had driven her away. The little girl said she could handle it herself, but then she noticed something. The boy noticed that Rexit was just in time. This was their younger sister. At first, he thought it would be an illegitimate daughter. It seems to me that she has nothing in common with them. This is the eldest son of Archduke Rexit Iveland. Alan said it didn't mean anything. Rexit noted that their family blood was very strong. All direct descendants had blue eyes, and this girl is definitely not one of them. Alan reproached that it was too rude, and also noted that he had heard something from his sister. So the guy asked what he was talking about. Alan said that this trait was not passed on in the previous generation, and his sister said that the children inherited their mother's appearance. This is a very rare occurrence that happens no more than once every few generations, so he considered his younger brother to be very immature. He also grabbed his hand so that he would not allow the family. The girl never received love from other people. This boy's behavior is familiar. Surprisingly, Alan came first and tried to be friendly. The guy said he didn't want to because he had to make sure she ate. Rexit said she was my real sister. Alan kept saying that she wanted to say that she was part of the family. His brother was very surprised when he heard this. Alan also noted that he could go and ask himself and that girl would seriously be their sister, but it's hard to believe that I have their blood. Let me make it clear that they are different. Baby is the daughter of her mother and father, so she said that it is not so. Rexit noted that she really wasn't of their blood and didn't even know how she got into the mansion and deceived her father. Well, he was sure that Baby would soon disappear from here. The girl said that they were not of the same blood, but she would not go anywhere anytime soon, at least until she came of age. Rexit had no idea what she was talking about or how she wanted to stay here if she wasn't a member of their family. Babe said that they were a contract family, and this really surprised the guy. They don't share blood, but she is also part of this house. The boy told me that he would not solve it because his father would never make a contract with such a person. The girl said that she was very strong, and that was why she deserved attention. But her father was much stronger than her, and she looked like she would collapse at any second. The girl called them weaklings and said that they didn't even notice how the barrier disappeared. Alan was surprised that she was talking about the mansion's barrier and was shocked that she managed to remove it. The little girl said she had to get rid of him to prove her strength. Rexit read that she didn't get rid of him, and that was some kind of nonsense. He said he could do that too right now. The little girl said that if that was the case, he could try to do it. He had to break the barrier, and if he succeeded, she would leave herself. Rexit said that he found it funny, and he didn't understand how he would do it if it was already broken. The girl noticed that she had reinstalled it and asked where she had sat if he hadn't noticed. She doesn't take it. He clings to all sorts of little things and doesn't see the barrier, so she considers him a weakling. Beeb hates weaklings the most, so she told him to leave. After all, he can't even feel the barrier, so it doesn't matter whether it's fake or not. Here, power belongs to those who have power. Rather, he is useless. The guy did not understand at all how she dared to say such a thing. Bibi wants to live in safety. The Archduke has been harmed, so he should stop pestering her and leave. Rexit thought she should be the one to leave. She couldn't believe he couldn't just not bully her. She was just glad that for the first time she didn't have nightmares. Alan approached his sister and asked if he could leave too. So he treats her well. She might hate him, so it's better to distance herself. And she told him to leave too and never come back to her. He said he was worried, but she liked being alone and couldn't trust people. Alan understood her and said that he would still come to play with her. They would see each other again. Rexit told his brother that he was crazy and that he should not have any more contact with her because she was a disgrace to their family. But the brother thought that this was abnormal and said that he would spend more time with his sister. Finally, they are gone. She can only trust her mother and do everything possible to make her feel safe. She would really like it if her mother could sleep peacefully. After that, Cecilia came and said that she had brought food. The girl asked her to leave and go away, but the maid insisted that she should open the doors. Baby said she didn't want it, so the maid said if she continued to behave like that, she would call his lordship. The girl said it was great, so she could take him. I wonder if he liked her little gift. The maid decided to ask if she was really sure about it, because she would regret it. Baby said that she would not regret it, and that she should call him already. The girl was just thinking that she needed to see him, and the question was resolved by itself. He was probably very busy, and would come in the afternoon, but soon there followed words that she should open the doors. Baby was surprised, because he came earlier than she thought. He might have been passing by, but that was even better. She said she was very happy to see her father. She didn't understand what was wrong with him, because she thought he needed to be more brazen. But he has a strange expression on his face. Maybe he didn't like the way she called him Daddy. So she started to worry, but he realized that he was not looking at her. If not at her, then he looks at her mother. She turned to him and asked why he was looking at her mother. He immediately turned away, but the girl continued to ask why she was doing this. Perhaps she interested him. The Duke wanted to talk about this appeal. The girl was surprised and noted that she was staying here, and they signed a contract and became a family. The children were looking for him, so he assumed that they must have met before. The gentleman asked if she was really sure that she was not afraid to trust him. If she had heard even one rumor, she would have definitely changed her mind. The girl knows that he is called the Mad Archduke. Some have gone so far as to blame him for his wife's death. She also heard that he kills everyone he doesn't like. The gentleman noted that she speaks too casually, and he might get angry and kill her. The girl said that it was all because of this, that she was not afraid of death. She would be eaten if she showed even a drop of weakness, so she decided she needed to look strong. The gentleman wanted to ask only one question. He believed that the reason she had closed the door and not let anyone in was because she wanted to meet him. BB noted that she did not need to talk to those who did not influence anything, and they did not agree when she lost consciousness. The girl is afraid she is scared, and she said that she is a useful person. She even reinstalled the barrier. He said he was strong enough to feel it. The gentleman asked what she wanted, or can't read minds. They made a contract, and other family members will consider her the master's daughter. He wants to know what else she wants. The girl asked him to let her officially join the family. Contact is not enough. If she wants to really protect herself, she needs to be impudent, but she and her mother have always been ignored. Their requests were not listened to, so she does not want to ask for anything. The Duke said he was not a psychic, so she had to tell him otherwise he wouldn't understand anything. It was completely unclear where all her confidence had gone, and for some reason she fell silent. The girl believed that he wouldn't listen anyway, and she wouldn't ask for anything, but would simply thank him. He would definitely let them stay here and protect their mother. That was his promise. She won't beg. It's better to return to this issue when her abilities are recognized. The gentleman thought that was all. The girl also asked how he liked her gift, since she had created a barrier. This is her little gift. The gentleman was skeptical and said that she should eat normally. Her body is so weak that it won't last even a couple of days. It looks like he's worried about her. It's impossible, not him. It's just that she's useful for now, so that's all. Well, her heart just wouldn't calm down, so she thought she was being rather strange. The maid thought that she was now pleased that his lordship had come all this way for her. The girl confirmed this and noted that she was a maid. Cecilia was simply furious when she saw that the girl called her informally. The girl did not understand why she would treat someone well who treated her badly. Cecilia noted that she seemed to have problems with her memory because she had already said her position and who she was, but she seemed to remember nothing. She taught both sons of the Archduke. It was worth using a little force as she got scared and ran away. The girl asked her to leave the food and go away. The maid remarked that she wanted so much to take the stick, but she could not do it. It was already late today, so she must eat and go to bed. His Highness said to give her a day off, and she must wash down dry food with water. The girl was surprised because she believed some warmth from this woman. Probably she is pretending to be the Archduke. He told them something that is why she is behaving so strangely. This lunch looks delicious. This could last us a week. The Archduke can change his attitude abruptly, so she needs to be prepared for anything. Adults are always like that, suddenly turning into completely different people. It was like that with everyone she met. They won't harm her anymore. The girl turned to her mother and said that she missed her very much. Her voice would definitely give her strength, but she would not be better. The only servant she met was Cecilia, and she was hostile. Even though the Duke will make her his adopted daughter, their relationship will not change. I don't care, but it could harm my sick mother. First, she needs to show that she is better than the other children. She saved her mother, that was the hardest thing. And now she can do anything. She told her mother that she missed her very much, but she needed to sleep a little more. Her body has suffered from a lot of violence. It is better for her to rest than to be awake. It is necessary to quickly become his daughter officially and to secure the environment. Only a girl can wake up her mother. There was someone knocking on Bebe's door, and it was really stressing her out because this person could have just opened the door and walked in. It seems to be local etiquette that they will wait for her to open the door. The lady asked her to open the door because they were supposed to start training today. Baby said she wouldn't, so there was no need to force her. The maid said that if she wanted to live here, she had to do it. The girl shouted that she would be sitting in the room, so she didn't want anyone to bother her with their etiquette. It was completely unnecessary. She finally calmed down. Maybe she should take a look around here. When the girl was looking around her room, she accidentally came across a door that opened. She didn't quite understand what was there, because she thought it was a normal guest room, but it was some kind of passage for a discreet escape. Perhaps it is so, and the whole mansion is covered with them. It is quite possible if you consider that the owner is an archduke. She decided to try it because she was used to the dark. It wouldn't hurt to look around here a little. It looks like a cave, and she and her mother can escape through it. She can feel the wind coming from that side. After this, the girl heard a voice that told her that she was not allowed there. Rexit told his father that he couldn't accept a new little sister. The servant also thought that this was not the best idea, since they were not allowed to be here. He thought that it was necessary to investigate everything thoroughly. First, the girl saw this meeting. The man turned to the master and said that he, as a representative of the vassals, could not agree with him. It was very right for them to let in those whom they hardly knew. It was the Marquis of Alentra. The boy turned to his father and said that he thought they should throw them out because the father's efforts to protect this child seemed strange. She is also a woman. Perhaps she is a spy. The father ordered his son to stop talking nonsense. The spy cannot sleep around the clock. Her physical condition only allows her to lie in bed. Regarding the child, this decision is final, and he does not understand why they are all against it. Rexit turned to the father and wanted to ask a question. The guy didn't understand at all why he had to leave her here. If this girl lived on the street, then he wouldn't recognize her. Father asked what exactly he didn't like. Rexit said angrily that she gave him goosebumps. There was no particular reason, he just didn't like her. A girl with no special features who becomes his sister. He doesn't like how easily the stupid Alan accepted her. He thought they could only let his real children in. She doesn't look like them at all. Her hair and eye color are different, so other people might think something wrong. The Archduke wondered, since when he cared about the opinions of others. He turned to Rexit and said that if he continued to argue, he would not get off easy, and that this applied to everyone present. If they hold meetings for such stupid reasons, they will regret it. They must not test his patience. Or they should find a children's parable, why they can't be here. Maybe then he will change his mind. He informed his son that the meeting was over, so they could leave together. That's great. That's exactly what she needed. Baby is so helpful that he doesn't listen to his children. His vassals were very angry and said that this girl and her mother were like a bolt from the blue. They can be patient and kick them out later, but it is completely unclear what kind of woman this is. The Marquis said that his daughter should take the place of the Duchess, and then she appeared, and with a child, he would not leave it so easily. The man suggested using Rexit to vomit. He is clearly against it, and it really works to their advantage. But the Marquis noticed that this young gentleman was not so easy to bend to his will. It's not really a good idea, but the future will be unpredictable if they leave it like this. The man thought it would be better to use Alan. It was a really good option. He seemed more naive than the others. The Marquis asked them to be quiet because someone might be eavesdropping. The man sensed something was wrong. Baby was surprised that he said he felt something because it sounded like he was a wild animal. The man suggested discussing everything another time, as there were always a lot of rats in this place. The man asked the Marquis what he was looking at and thought there was something there. This mansion is often the target of break-ins, so it has many more secret passages than it might seem. Since the beginning of the current Duke's reign, there had been no attack, but the passages remained. The man believed that the Marquis believed that there was a passage there. The Marquis noted that they could be anywhere, he wasn't sure, but it was better to stay on guard. Now it was clear what kind of passage it was. But there is no door here. They can't get in from that side. Suddenly, he grabbed the fireplace and noticed that there might be something behind it. The girl was very scared. They asked if there really was something, but the Marquis said no, and he just smelled an unfamiliar smell. Maybe he imagined it. The man suggested that they disperse. The meeting was over. The Duke might suspect something. Bebe was delighted she doesn't know his name or appearance, but they definitely called him a marquis. His voice is like an old man's. He has a good sense. You need to be more careful. And anyway, it's time to go back. The girl overheard a conversation at a meeting and went her own way. To return to her mother's room, she had to walk a long way, namely through many other rooms. As a result, she got lost. Baby, by the way, did not understand where she was now. She did not understand what to return. She heard a voice asking his lordship what they would do. The servant thought the master was bothering him about something. The Archduke said the girl called him Papa. It sounded strange, although he heard it all the time from his children. The servant thought it was strange. She looks like she's barely alive, but they boldly call him Father. The servant hasn't seen her in person, but he hears more and more interesting stories about her. Reminds him of the twins when they were younger, and from this, it only becomes scarier. The gentleman noted that they had blown up the building several times. He only confirmed this and also asked what they would do about it. The new mistress does not open the door to anyone. Cecilia comes to the office and asks what she should do. She needs to go back, but it's not entirely clear how to do this. She is so restless, she doesn't eat anything, and there are no sounds coming from the room. But the master thought that this was a trifle, and it seemed that the labyrinth did not inspect them. He would take care of everything so the servant could go, and Cecilia should go back to her place. He will sort this out himself. It looks like this is an isolated office. She will have to ask the Archduke how to get back to her room. And then the girl realized that the walls were too thick, and she would not be able to signal that she was here. But then a light illuminated her. It was the Duke who opened the doors and asked if she liked the labyrinth. He called her daughter Bebe, began to say that she was very interested. The gentleman thought that this was such a joy. This place is quite far away, so he does not understand how she ended up here. The little girl said she had something to say, so she came. He was surprised and asked again. The girl began to say that she no longer wanted and would not talk about it. If she told him she had been threatened, he would rather believe the people here than her. She imagined a scene where he said he was disappointed because she said bad things about the vassals. Xenox asked if she was really mocking him and demanded that she tell him what happened. But he still understood that everyone has things that are better left unsaid. But he had already explained that he was not a kind or patient person, and she should remember that. They are all worried, so she has to go back to the room. The little girl said that she doesn't know how to get back there. She came here so easily, so the gentleman doesn't understand at all what the problem is. Babe doesn't know the way she was in captivity all the time. She is not used to such travels. At first, she tried to make marks on the walls, but it is too dark, and they are not visible. The gentleman was surprised at what she was talking about when she mentioned that she had lived in captivity. Baby said that it was true, so it wasn't a request at all, and she was asking him to take her or ask someone else. This is not really a request. The Archduke said that she would personally lead her all the way to the room. After this, the girl noticed that he was a very kind person and smiled, but he denied it and said that she would just be annoying if she stayed there longer. Bibi asked if there was a place where she could clean everything, because Cecilia would definitely not give her a break if she saw her like this. Xenox told me not to worry because he will take care of everything. It seems that she has been deceived a lot, but there is no need to worry, and she can just come for him. I asked if Cecilia was bothering her. The girl said that maybe she was too pushy, but she hadn't done anything bad, and they could get along. She also noted that he calls himself a bad person. She is much better than it seems at first glance. My master agreed, but the girl insisted. After that, Xenox again did not agree. Her legs hurt. She really wanted to go much slower, but it will not work. The gentleman asked what was wrong with her. Baby told him that it was nothing, just that her legs weren't short at all. She would like to look around a bit, so she asks him not to hurry so much. She was also glad that the window was open. The gentleman realized that it seemed she was not going to speak honestly. The girl was surprised that he stopped because of her. Xenox said that this is, of course, Zhenya. She is not some special child, so she will not be especially in a relationship. He would not treat her well, and she does not know to be special, but he is still a good person. She started to talk about being lost, so the gentleman asked what she had done. The girl immediately said that nothing at all. Then they had already arrived. The maids met the master. Xenox asked Cecilia why the girl came to him. The maid said that they were sure that the mistress was in the room, and there was so much dust on her, so she wanted to know where she got so dirty. But the gentleman thought that it didn't matter now, and let her just go back to her room. She had smeared it while she was next to him, so he ordered her to be washed. By the way, he turned to the little girl and asked if she wanted to do it again. But she didn't understand what he was talking about. I didn't understand what she needed to say, maybe to thank him for leading her. After which the gentleman said that nothing was needed, and since he was here, he would like to look at her. He became embarrassed again when he introduced the girl's mother. Baby was surprised that he was not going to leave, but he said that it was time for him to go. The baby kicked while she was being washed, and the maid asked if she was going to walk around like that in front of her mother. The maid asked her if she really wanted to go dirty, because it might make her mother even sicker. Bibi realized that she was dirty, and it made her nervous. The maid asked what she had done to get so dirty. She wanted to know who I was and what the mistress was doing. She didn't even know what others would think of her if the mistress walked around like that. But the girl thought that no one cared. Cecilia said that people around her should not see her dirty, so the girl said that she could bathe herself. When the maid undressed her, she saw many scars on her and did not understand who dared to do this to a small child. Bibi asked her not to look, so the maid said she would wash her with her eyes closed. Soft voice. It felt like she genuinely cared about her. The little girl asked if she was really not loved here. Bibi noted that Cecilia seemed like a good person to her, and it looks like she was wrong. The lady noted that this was correct. It was better not to trust people so easily, so she should remain the same and not think about others. Excessive openness could only do harm. She also could not be trusted. The little girl asked why she was trying to be a bad person. City, I told her that nothing of the sort. I was just clearly showing her what she wanted to teach her. These are not etiquette lessons. These are survival lessons. They'll finish washing, and she'll be free. She just needs to eat more. Bebe noted that she wanted to ask her something. The maid said she could ask. The little girl asked who these people were who wanted to throw her out. It was hard to answer this question. There could be many. Bibi asked if she wanted that too. The maid replied in the negative and said that she was following his lordship's orders, and he said to consider her as his mistress, so she would do so, and there was no reason to throw her out. In general, the reason for her to be driven out is for those whose position may change due to the arrival of a new person, and she thinks that these may be vassals. The little girl understood her. The maid also told her that they probably considered her mother's appearance more dangerous. Babe didn't quite understand why this was so. After that, the maid said that if she ate well and slept well and didn't lock the doors, she would tell about it. The little girl puffed out her cheeks and remarked that it was very mean of her. Now she had time to eat. Babe started saying that her clothes were dirty. The maid said that everything was fine, and the main thing was that she was clean. The girl became interested. Bad people never admit that they are bad. On the contrary, they try to appear good. So, Cecilia is good. The maid said that she would now tidy up the baby's hair after she had eaten. She doesn't trust her. She thinks maybe grown women can be normal. After that, the maid brought food and asked if the lady wanted to eat something specific. The little girl said that bread would do, preferably hard. The maid was shocked, and the girl thought that such bread would last longer, and the soft ones were definitely mice. She was shocked that she liked this kind of food, and did not understand how meat and fish could be cooked soft. The girl hadn't eaten anything for several days. It would be difficult to digest, so the maid said she would ask for something soft and hard bread to be prepared. She will also bring warm milk. Bebe asked how much for tuition, because she thought Cecilia would talk about etiquette. Two-Faced only wants to teach her something that will make people not ignore her. For now, she can just eat in peace. She will prepare things that will help to put her hair in order. It seems that it is not so bad for her. But Mom should not worry. She is not going to trust him completely. It was really delicious to eat. The maid was pleased to see that she had eaten well, because of which she said that now it was time to get a haircut. Well, the little girl started screaming that she didn't want it. She was beaten and cut half to death. She saw threats with scissors dozens of times, and they always made her eyes darker. The maid said that she would cut her hair, just make it long, so she asked for forgiveness. She thought that this hairstyle would suit her. The little girl decided to ask something. She believed that if she wanted to survive, she would have to learn etiquette. The maid believed that she had pushed her too hard. Babe started to say that it was not about that. Cecilia said that your mansion does not have the best reputation, but in this place her life is not in danger. The little girl wondered why she had suddenly changed so much. If she hadn't been able to spin well, she might not know many children had come to this family. With blue eyes and black hair, they claimed to be descendants of the Duke. Although they could not prove that they were related to this family, many children came here. They said that the Archduke was their father, and she had to drive them away. The maid seemed to think the little one was the same. She confirmed this and said that she then overheard her conversation with Mr. Rexit, how she denied being a direct descendant of the family. After this, the maid began to look at her differently and realized that she was wrong when she saw the scars. And Cecilia also thought that it would be better if only she saw them than anyone else. She may be mean to her and the others. That's right, but she's trying to give her some comfort so she won't sleep with nightmares anymore. The little girl thought she was talking in her sleep, and the maid told her that the little girl was calling for help. It seemed that the maid was eavesdropping, so the little girl became upset. Cecilia suggested that they stop there today, but the girl didn't understand what she was talking about, so she asked again. She is about teaching etiquette. The basis begins with how she looks at the interlocutor, and she will teach her that too. She has done a lot today, so don't overdo it. Baby thought it was such a concern, but it wasn't. Cecilia was trying not to tire her out with her training, so that was enough for today. The little girl still thought it was strange that she had changed the relationship so much, so the maid immediately began to think that she was uncomfortable. BB noted that this was exactly the case, and said that from tomorrow, everything would not be returned to the way it was, and that she could prepare for etiquette training. It's as if she became a different person. She doesn't want to. It's better to let them hate her right away than to show kindness and trample hopes. The next day, the little girl said she was full, and the maid thought she had eaten too much. The little girl answered, "Everything is fine tomorrow. She can bring everything too." Also, the maid suggested her to take a walk because she had never been outside. It seemed that if she moved even a little, it would only get worse. The maid said that she sat in the room all day and that it was bad for her health, so she wanted to take her for a walk. The little girl refused because she couldn't leave her mother alone. The maid noted that she should worry because the hole would be closed. No one would touch her, and his lordship ordered the room to be guarded. The maid also thought that there might be another reason why she was refusing. You can't tell her that she's overeaten, because then she'll feel like the baby is acting like a child, although you should at least say hello to others. There was nothing to be done if she insisted, so they decided to go. The girl cast a protective spell. There was nothing to worry about if she was touched. There would be a chance to find out who was trying to get rid of them. Then it would be easier to catch enemies. Soon she would return to her mother. The maid was sure that she would like the garden. The little girl remarked that she shouldn't have said that, because she might like me. After that, she heard talk about herself. The maid said that the girl was very different, so they didn't understand why she was needed. They thought that she had definitely been picked up in some strange place. But they should be quiet, because these are just rumors, and they don't really know anything. A little girl came running around the corner and asked them to repeat it, and the maids immediately started saying that they hadn't said anything like that. The little girl told them that she couldn't be hallucinating. Everything seemed so clear. The mansion's maid discusses her mistress's appearance. If they can't say it to your face, then it's better not to open your mouth at all. They can only gossip, but now they should remain silent. Cecilia noticed that the duchy's maids seemed to lack manners. They immediately began to apologize to the maid. She ordered them to apologize to the lady, not to her. But the girl said that it was not necessary, and that they should say it by their names. The girls were surprised and asked again. If they answered, she would take them to the head maid, or she would ignore her just the same. The maid said that she would tell you everything. Her names are Lily Rachel and also Anna's. By the way, she didn't say anything bad about her. Cecilia told them to go faster and added that they wouldn't get away with this term that easily. They understood this. The girl said that she would like to go further. The lady doesn't seem to look at the street because she's walking too inattentively. Cecilia noted that it was also her job to reprimand and discipline the maids, and the lady did a good job. Bebe was surprised that she did everything right. The maid said that of course she had been timid before, and she was afraid that the Duke's new daughter would not be able to stand up for herself, but that was not the case. The little girl thought her maid was strange. She decided to raise her properly. She softened again. It is her duty to protect the maids, but she did not want to do it, and they gossiped about you, family member. There was a strange and mysterious power hidden inside her, which awakened a feeling that could surprise her. This feeling was so unusual, so deep, that she could not find an explanation for it. Before my eyes stretched a place that no one had looked after for a long time. Here among the thick grass and overgrown bushes lived small animals and snakes. Babe had always known the garden just like this, wild and neglected. But now that they were almost there, a completely different view opened up ahead. It was the well-kept garden of the Archduke's estate, which immediately caught the eye with its beauty. The little girl was indescribably delighted when she saw the magnificence of the garden. The maid, observing her reaction, came to the conclusion that the place made an indelible impression on her, and she obviously liked it. Overcome with emotion, the little girl enthusiastically asked if she could run around the garden. She was breathtaking in the beauty around her and couldn't wait to feel it even closer. Cecilia, smiling, reassured her, saying that she could walk here as much as she wanted. This freedom pleased the girl, and she immediately rushed to explore the garden. The little girl was sure that the garden was simply incredible. She remembered that she had once heard that the scent of a single flower could change the whole world. Looking at this garden, she felt that it was really true. What she saw seemed to have come straight from the pages of a book, with illustrations that she had once looked at. Everything around was so bright, so fabulous that the little girl could not take her eyes off this beauty. Cecilia noticed that the girl seemed completely happy. The little girl immediately confirmed this with a sincere smile, saying that she really liked everything here. However, amidst the delight and joy, a small sad thought appeared in her soul. She really wanted her mother to be able to see all this magnificence too. The maid, sensing these feelings, gently addressed the girl, noting that she was apparently thinking about her mother. The little girl froze in fear, amazed at how the maid had managed to guess. The woman, smiling, explained that it was all about the special smile that appeared on her face when she thought of her mother. But the girl immediately began to deny this, declaring that there was no point in pretending that she could understand her thoughts. Having calmed down a little, Baby said that she would like to take a closer look at the garden. The maid willingly allowed her to walk along the paths. The little girl happily agreed, anticipating new impressions. While walking, she bumped into another girl who, clearly interested, asked who she was. She soon realized that she had a new fake daughter standing in front of her, and this thought made her displeased. Baby noticed that she really liked the place, trying not to pay attention to the stranger's sharp intonations, but this only made the girl angry, as she felt that she was being ignored. Babe turned around and clarified that she had not intended to ignore her. She had been thinking about picking some beautiful flowers for her mother. Approaching Cecilia, Baby asked if she could take some flowers from the garden. The maid readily allowed her to do so. She remembered how her mother's blonde hair resembled the sparkle of stars, She thought that yellow flowers would be a perfect addition to her image. Baby happily began to pick flowers, enjoying the process. But the other girl, increasingly irritated, watched her angrily. Suddenly, a stranger approached Baby and pushed her, knocking all the flowers to the ground. The little girl was stunned, not understanding how she could allow herself to behave like that. However, the girl was pleased. She said that she did it only because Baby did not pay attention to her. Baby coldly replied that she should find another opponent to quarrel with, as she was busy at the moment. But the Duke's daughter insisted that they needed to talk. The stranger introduced herself as Mrs. Haras and said she was wondering where Cecilia, who was responsible for their training, had gone. This girl appeared in her place. The maid confirmed her suspicions, which caused a storm of indignation in Haras. She angrily asked why they needed this fake. Cecilia calmly explained that she was only following his lordship's orders, which angered the lady even more. Screaming with rage, she blamed everything on this blonde. Babe, not understanding what was happening, looked at her in confusion. Haras asked how she dared to treat her like that. She was infuriating because she was a real daughter, one of 4 real children unlike her. Baby wondered if it was true. She remembered the guy's words later, that now he was an older brother. He finally had a younger sister. It was strange if he already had a sister. Then it was unclear why he called her that. She decided to ask at that previous meeting. Haras was simply furious that the girl was not even going to deny it. Baby didn't think she had to do it, but her daughter thought that, of course she had to. The little girl noticed that she had said everything correctly. Babe is really a fake. After these words, the Duke's daughter said that she was strange. I didn't understand why she stayed then, if she knew about it. Babe noted that there was no rule that a Bolshevik could not be here. Haras began to say that she was irritated by the character of this girl. Baby can say the same thing. She appeared out of nowhere and throws her flowers. She screamed and asked what the girl was doing. Haras started saying that fakes don't need flowers and trampled on her shoes. It seems she is incorrigible. The girl became even more furious and said that she was her father's favorite daughter. Babe said that she didn't care who the Archduke loved, especially since he said that they don't see useless things, and this also applies to children. The little girl noted that, of course I was, because no one could compare with her. Baby congratulated her, so she got even more angry and asked what she just said. The little girl noted that she congratulated him on being a useful child, but it was time for her to go because she had ruined the whole mood and didn't want to go for a walk anymore. Haras had no idea where she was going and thought that she was simply afraid that she wouldn't like her and that she would hate her. Baby replied that she didn't care what this girl thought. She had recently read in a book that she avoided poop, not because she was afraid. It's all because she's dirty. The Duke's daughter was absolutely horrified that she called her that and compared her to a piece of shit. There was only 1 flower left. It was very sad. The maid told her not to be upset about Haras. They could go to kindergarten later when she was no longer there, and the little girl didn't mind. It's better not to be greedy, and that will be enough. She will be happy that she can give her at least 1 flower. Baby still asked who Haras was, because it was the first time she had met a person with such bad manners. His lordship has 5 children. Mrs. Astaire, who will be 16 this year. Next come 8-year-old twins, Rexit and Alan. And the second daughter is 5-year-old Mrs. Haras. After that, the little girl said that she is also 5 years old, and her name is Bebe. The girl never got to see Astaire, so she wonders what kind of person she is. Cecilia said that she is the Duke's first heir. The little girl noted that she had said that she was a girl, and she believed that a woman could not become the heir of the family. Of course, Mrs. Astaire is older and stronger than the others. She entered the academy, became the best in the class, and since then has not given up her place to anyone, and has succeeded in fencing and magic. His lordship values strength above all else, so she was appointed his successor almost immediately. The maid said she would tell her everything and explain when they entered the room. The girl noticed that this door was different from the others in the mansion, but it seemed that no one had entered. If someone came in with the intention of touching or harming Mom, they would be struck by lightning. But it is better for her to be safe. The little girl came up to her mother and started saying that there was a very beautiful garden here, and the next time she woke up, she would like to go with her. The maid suggested continuing the conversation they had started. His lordship had become an archduke at a young age, and all that time he had loved only one woman. It was Archduchess Alison Avalant. After she gave birth to Astor, the woman became weak. Only after 8 years she gave birth to boys. And after the birth of twins, it was said trying that she does not plan to have more children. But her love with the Duke was so strong that after 3 years a girl was born. Then the Duchess went for a walk with her children. Being pregnant with her 4th child, she was kidnapped. Therefore she cannot say for sure. The criminals left no traces, so it was difficult to find anything. But 6 months later, the body of the Archduchess was discovered. When his lordship learned of this, he was furious. It was all hell at the time. After that, a lot changed, and Mrs. Astor blamed herself for everything and entered the academy ahead of time. It turns out that the child might not have been born since the Archduchess was found dead, but different children come to the mansion and claim that the Archduke is their father. There were signs of childbirth on the lady's body, and there was hope that the child might survive. Among them appeared Mrs. Haras. She brought her mother's pendant with her, and also the shawl that she had with her when she disappeared. So everyone thought she was the Archduke's daughter. She was the 4th child in the family, although her birth did not come with magical gifts like the others. However, the things that were given to her helped her join the family, but they could not change her origin and lack of magical power. Because of this, the girl was not yet fully accepted, and she understood why Alan had only now called her little sister. However, this did not bother her too much, since status and recognition were not among her interests. She was more concerned with another question. Were they able to find out why the Archduchess had been kidnapped? But unfortunately, there was no answer yet, which upset not only the girl, but also those around her. It was strange to realize that a kidnapping of this level had no purpose. Usually such actions are aimed at obtaining a ransom, but in this case everything was different. The body was found only 6 months later. It is clear that security was strong enough to prevent something like this from happening. It is unclear how all this could have happened with such security measures, which makes the solution even more difficult. The mystery of the kidnapping remained unsolved, and the maid still doubted the intentions of Mrs. Haras, who had brought the things to the girl. This made her anxious and suspicious. However, the girl said that she didn't care. If even the Duke couldn't figure it out, then she certainly shouldn't interfere in such matters. She preferred to stay out of it. But the maid had a different opinion. It seemed to her that the Duke was showing more concern for the girl than Mrs. Haras, and this could not go unnoticed. The girl did not immediately understand what was being discussed, but the maid explained that the Duke had personally appointed her as baby's nanny. This seemed unexpected to the girl, but also pleasant to some extent. Hearing this, the girl was surprised to see that the maid considered herself superior to others. Cecilia explained that she was responsible for raising the Duke's children, which automatically put her on a higher level. Even though there was no blood relation between them, the Duke showed concern for Bibi. However, Haras was still closer to him, despite her doubts and intrigues. The maid noted that Mrs. Haras was trying to prove her usefulness so that no one would dare to dissuade her if she decided to leave. Her actions seemed quite sensible. These conversations prompted the girl to decide to try harder. She wanted to be useful, and the maid supported her in this impulse, noting that it was a wonderful idea. However, the maid was surprised by such aspiration, because the girl herself was already an important part of the family. Her existence in itself was useful, and this was obvious. The girl, however, denied this, recalling how she had been called useless since birth. Cecilia did not know about it, but these words left a deep mark on her soul. Useless. This word became her shadow, haunting her at every step. It became the reason for the ridicule and mockery that she endured for many years. People called her a useless girl who wasted resources. They compared her to trash, and these words hurt her the most, forming an inferiority complex. This is why Babe was determined to prove her usefulness, especially to the Archduke, who seemed to be the only one who believed in her potential. Cecilia assured her that she would definitely succeed. She had everything she needed to do. All she had to do was put in the effort and believe in herself. For the first time in a long time, the girl felt joy. Her mother remained alive, and the first spring in her life, which she could consciously meet, seemed to her a real miracle. The maid noted with a smile that the girl apparently also liked spring. Very much, Bebe replied that of course she was glad because the nature around was beautiful. As she surveyed the landscape, she noticed majestic mountains in the distance. Curious, she asked Cecilia if they were really in such a mountainous area. Cecilia confirmed with a smile that the Duke's estate was located in the mountains, which were part of his vast holdings. This territory held many secrets and beauties. Baby thought that the mountains might be the perfect place to escape. Although it was too early to think about it, she wanted to be prepared for anything in the future. However, while refining her plans, she heard rumors that the forest around was teeming with strange animals and plants, which made her slightly uneasy. Hearing this, the girl became frightened and asked the maid again if such dangerous creatures really lived in these places. Cecilia confirmed that this was true, and singled out among them the silver wolf, considered the strongest and most dangerous predator in these mountains. Baby was intrigued by the story of the silver wolf. Images of the mysterious beast appeared in her imagination, which caused her to have conflicting feelings of fear and admiration. The silver wolf was not just a beast, it was believed to possess magic and great strength, which made it the most powerful creature in the mountains, where the Iveland estate was located. According to legends, a pack of silver wolves obeys only the head of the Iveland clan. These magical creatures did not allow themselves to be tamed by anyone else, remaining faithful to only one master. The first head of the Iveland family managed to tame the pack, and this bond was passed down through generations. However, the last dukes were never able to gain the trust of these creatures. According to legend, whoever can tame the wolves will become a worthy new head of the family. This became a symbol of power and strength in the Iveland family. Upon hearing this, Bebe turned to the maid in horror, asking if what they were saying about the wolves and their connection to the Iveland house was true. Cecilia replied with a smile that perhaps the wolves had simply heard her telling a story about them, and so the rumors might not have been random. However, Baby suddenly declared that she really wanted to see these wolves. Surprised, Cecilia did not understand how the girl could not be afraid of such dangerous creatures. Babe confidently declared that she had nothing to fear. She could not imagine how beautiful these creatures could be, and her desire to see them only grew. At the same time, her attention was drawn to the flowers that Alan had left for her again. This was an unexpected sign of attention for the girl, for which she was not prepared. She decided, however, that if she met Alan, she would definitely say that she didn't like flowers, so as not to show her joy. In reality, Baby loved flowers very much. She was glad that they were brought every day, and she found the yellow buds especially close and warm, like spring itself. Cecilia noticed that the girl obviously liked flowers because she always looked happy in the garden. She promised to pass this on to Alan if the girl wanted. The girl, wanting to hide her true feelings, said that she went to the garden only for her mother. Cecilia was surprised and asked if she would go there today, since Haras would not be there. B was surprised to hear that Mrs. Haras would not actually show up. Her ambiguous attitude toward the garden was a mystery, but she was pleased by her predictability. She was glad to learn that Haras would not come, and decided to go to the garden to pick flowers while no one was disturbing her. Cecilia liked this idea too. She believed that the flowers would definitely please the girl's mother and would help create a bright and joyful atmosphere. Despite her spring mood, Baby was worried deep down inside. Outwardly, she looked calm, but her slight anxiety was noticeable to those who knew her well. Her mother called the doctor to make sure the girl was okay. Baby knew it could be related to her magic, but she chose not to show any unnecessary emotion. To avoid unnecessary questions, she decided to play the role of an obedient daughter. She said that she would pick the most beautiful flowers for her mother to please her. This time she prepared the basket so that the flowers would not fall apart like they did last time. Baby wanted to do everything carefully and with love. The maid suggested waiting for her hair to dry so as not to catch a cold. At the same time, she noticed that the girl's dress was a little big. Baby waved it off, saying that everything was fine with her. But Cecilia remembered how the girl had gotten bruises last time because of uncomfortable clothes. The maid felt it was her responsibility to take care of the girl and could not allow her to suffer because of inappropriate things. She decided to take control of it. Cecilia had been taking special care of Baby in recent days. She had begun to think that the girl deserved more and should not settle for what she was given. The maid decided that they needed to discuss buying new clothes. She was worried that the girl's wardrobe was too meager and clearly not enough for comfort. However, Baby assured that she was happy with everything and that she was content with what she had. But the maid did not share this opinion. When the girl went, the long dress almost caused her to fall. Cecilia noticed that the clothes for going out were clearly not suitable, and the girl urgently needed new clothes. She noted that the house clothes were still okay, but the dress clothes were completely unsuitable. There were also not enough accessories, which depressed the maid. Cecilia explained that the girl had been given Harris's outfits at first, but now it was too much. Baby shrugged, saying she didn't care. The maid, however, decided that this could not go on any longer. Even if it caused controversy, she was going to insist on buying new clothes for the girl. Baby agreed, adding that Haras would probably be the one to oppose it. But that didn't stop the maid. Cecilia confidently stated that she would still talk to the decision-makers about the new clothes, regardless of any possible resistance. She noted that many supported the idea of the girl leaving, especially Ms. Haras, who was the most ardent opponent of the changes. However, Cecilia noticed that even Haras was acting unusually. Her active resistance was different from her usual behavior. Baby said loudly that Cecilia should not be afraid of Haras and that she could do what she thought was right. Timidity did not suit her. The maid assured with a smile that she would do just that. She was not going to back down from the difficulties for the sake of the girl's well-being. She also mentioned that she would discuss the purchase of clothes with the Duke while the girl was having lunch. She asked Baby to wait a little and walked away, leaving the girl to enjoy the time before the meeting. Cecilia reminded that the most important thing now is proper nutrition, especially now that the girl has access to tasty food. The first days at the estate were not easy for Baby. She was afraid that she might be thrown out and constantly thought about possible changes. Her anxiety manifested itself in even the smallest details. She kept a supply of hard bread behind her bed, which reminded her of the difficulties of her past life. Although she still valued the bread with each passing day, as she enjoyed fresh meals, it became increasingly difficult for her to view it as a necessary supply. She began to understand that they would not be thrown out, which meant that there was no point in keeping the old bread any longer. She decided to get rid of the oldest one. Baby decided to throw away the leftovers. She didn't want the bread to be eaten by mice or to spoil, since it was now unnecessary. She spent more time in her room, noticing the little things around her. Her attention was drawn to the nature outside the window, the mountains where people were rarely seen. As she was closing the window, she heard the maid's voice and shuddered in surprise. Embarrassed, she hurried to promise that she would eat quickly. The girl suddenly added that she no longer wanted hard bread to be brought to her. This genuinely surprised Cecilia. Instead, she asked for soft bread with ham, which she liked. Her request was simple, but it meant a lot to her. The maid happily agreed. She promised that next time she would definitely bring exactly what the girl needed. Cecilia reminded him that the girl would have to meet with his lordship after dinner, so it was important not to linger. Beebe asked her to come back quickly, but her attention was immediately drawn to an unexpected movement outside the window. A wolf was standing there. Beebe didn't think clothes were that important at all. Although she was grateful for her kindness, it seems she thought that Mom would wake up soon. There was something prepared for her too. But Mother did not wake up. Cecilia must have a hard time understanding how one can sleep for 10 days. She prepared dinner for her because she thought she might wake up. The girl decided that she would do just that, and that she needed to quickly solve all the problems and allow her mother to eat deliciously. The little girl was glad that Cecilia had returned. Well, then she also heard the master's voice. The girl was happy when she saw her father. He asked her why she was so surprised. The girl ran up to him and said that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. He was surprised that she called him that again. Baby thought he didn't like it, but that wasn't it. He was just surprised because she hadn't said that last time. She was surprised, and after that there was silence between them. The gentleman asked her if she had gotten used to the new place, and the girl said that she had. She thinks that it is better not to draw conclusions about a person only from rumors. It was agreed that he was the worst Archduke of all time. The family's 1,000-year history was cut short by Xenox. If he hadn't started the rebellion, the family would have existed for a very long time, until the fall of the empire itself. He thought so too, but the Archduke turned out to be a fool. It's a pity for the people of his mansion. He was unlucky with the owner. The little girl heard it all. It was a rebellion, the meaning of which no one could understand. They say that the archdukes used to force the imperial blood into themselves, but after 1,000 years, little remained of it. However, the duke still went east against the emperor to take his place, and was destroyed since he never relaxed his vigilance. The emperor announced after the execution that he had tried to seize the throne, but this was hardly the only reason for the rebellion. There must have been something else. The emperor's words alone cannot be trusted. The gentleman thought that there was something on his face, but the girl simply had not seen him for a long time and was trying to remember his appearance. Xenox understood her and said that it seemed he came too seldom. Cecilia said good things about him because the Archduke was a good man, so she would protect him. There is a spy of the emperor hiding in the mansion. We need to find the traitors. The gentleman believed that she missed him, but the girl could not confirm this. That's why Xenox noticed that she was very brave. Usually children try to attract his attention at any cost. Beebe telling him that she doesn't need it, so the gentleman noted that he would turn out to be an amazing child. There are pretty simple ways to do this, so he doesn't understand why she doesn't even try. It is easy to lose what is easy to get. She constantly faces this, so she tries to get only the most difficult. The gentleman remarked that she was the spitting image of a historian, because children do not speak like that. After that, the girl decided to ask how children actually speak. She doesn't know anything about it. No one explained it to her. Maybe her mother tried to tell her, but she doesn't remember it. After this, the gentleman took her in his arms, and the girl asked what he was doing. Xenox was surprised that she was so surprised, and noted that he just wanted to see her face. Beebe said that it scared her, and that she was not used to this, and so abruptly. Sir, you understood that next time he would warn, and also noticed that her face became much more lively. On the first day, it seemed that she was about to collapse. The girl noted that she could be useful even in this form. He was shocked that she liked this word. Beebe noted that this is not so, and she does not like it. She just tries not to hear such things from others. Long said that it was time for His Highness to go to the meeting. Xenox said that today time flies by unnoticed, and he almost forgot about everything came to see before the meeting. The girl understood and asked if there was a reason for this. He was going to raise her, so he told her. The girl thought it was some kind of care, but he said it was just that last time it had scared her too much. She didn't mind being picked up, but she didn't need to be shaken, because he can shake out all her dignity. He noticed that the clothes were really too big, and the shoes were a bit big too. The girl assumed that was what he was going to look at. He had other plans for her, initially, so he gave me some clothes that fit, and he thought another 5-year-old's size would fit. Speed was the priority then. The girl understood and asked him to stop shaking her because it hurt. God, I didn't understand why he even had to justify himself to her. It seemed like he was trying to test something. This look is disconcerting, as if he sees right through her, and that is why the girl said that she already understood. He cares about her very much and would do nothing bad. The Duke said that at such moments he wanted to tell her how shameless she was. BB giggled and said that then she would stay like this. She had one wish. The gentleman was surprised that she wanted to ask him for something. The baby wants to officially join the family, if possible. She is usually afraid to ask for something, but this is not a request, but a wish. She needs proof that she officially became a child of this family. So she said that she needs documents. Her mother would probably be proud of her courage if she could see it. Everything the girl did was not just her request, but an expression of her mother's desire. She sincerely believed that she should ask the master to fulfill it, because it was important not only for her, but also for her mother. Xenox noted with a slight smile that they were talking about just some documents. He asked the girl what documents she had in mind, not seeming to attach any particular importance to it. The servants hurried Xenox, reminding him of urgent matters, but he sternly ordered them not to interfere. Then he turned to the girl, explaining that he was a little busy, and suggested that they discuss her request a little later, when he had more time. The girl was understanding, but gently reminded him that he should not forget about her request. The gentleman, in turn, asked her to carefully monitor her health and immediately report if she felt unwell. Xenox had heard similar words from many children, but from this girl it sounded special. She seemed amazing, and her sincerity inspired in him a warm sympathy that he rarely felt for others. After this, Cecilia informed the girl that the Archduke had given orders, and she would have to make a choice between the two options offered. This decision could not be postponed. The girl, however, did not immediately understand what was being discussed. Then the maid explained that usually tailors are brought to children who create clothes especially for them. Or there is another option. You can go to the nearest city and visit a salon where you can immediately choose everything you need. The girl, without thinking, said that she prefers to stay here. The maid asked if she was sure of her choice. The girl confirmed with a smile that she wanted to stay, since she had not yet had time to properly inspect the entire mansion. A trip to the city would be interesting, but she was worried about leaving her mother alone. The maid reassured her, promising to introduce her to Madame, who helps the Archduke with choosing clothes. If something is needed urgently, Madame will be able to help, and later they will definitely visit the salon when Mom gets better. But for this, she needed to eat well, which the girl readily agreed to. She also reminded him that they had agreed to go for a walk. The maid suggested walking in the garden while there was no one there. The girl happily supported the proposal, adding that she hoped not to meet Haras. She suggested that they quickly gather some flowers and return back. The garden was indeed empty. It seemed to the girl that there were even more yellow flowers. Perhaps they had managed to grow again during this time, and this added a special charm to the garden. Looking at the flowers, the girl said that she liked the yellow ones the most. The maid asked with interest why this particular color was so dear to her. The girl replied that yellow flowers reminded her of her mother. Cecilia explained that the flower was called freesia. It appeared in the spring and symbolized a new beginning. The maid smiled and remarked that this flower really suited both the girl and her mother perfectly. The girl happily agreed, adding that she really wanted to pick a few of these flowers. The day was surprisingly sunny and warm. The girl finally collected the bouquet, and they headed back. But suddenly she heard loud screams coming from the mansion. Turning around, she saw the Archduke there, and her heart began to beat faster. A few dozen minutes before this, a heated discussion had taken place in the mansion. One of the servants suggested that the Archduke move the woman and child to the annex. The servant spoke loudly and angrily, insisting that this strange woman could not be left in the main building. There was hostility in his words, as if her presence threatened his own position or disrupted the established order of life. He went on to say that a woman who was unaware of her position might begin to behave as if she were an archduchess. This idea outraged him, and he did not hesitate to express his opinion in the presence of others. The servant dared to make even more harsh statements, claiming that a commoner was not worthy of occupying such an honorable place. The Archduke finally interrupted him, ordering him to stop these conversations immediately. But the servant tried to continue citing supposedly reasonable arguments. He suggested an investigation to take action, arguing that it was better to drive away people who, in his opinion, were insects. This comparison outraged the Archduke, but the servant was too sure of his rightness to stop. The Archduke was astonished by these words. They went against his personal convictions and decisions. He remembered how he had already regretted his patience with this man, who now allowed himself such free behavior. The servant tried to justify himself, claiming that he only wanted the best for the Archduke, but his words sounded unconvincing, causing only greater irritation in the master, who saw self-interest behind this concern. The Archduke made it clear that his decisions could not be questioned. He believed that the servant was pursuing his own agenda, and his claims of concern were nothing more than mockery. The Archduke ordered immediate silence. The master, furious to the extreme, ordered the servant to be driven out and all his property confiscated. This was an extreme step, but he considered it necessary to maintain order and authority in the house. The servant tried to object, insisting that the punishment was unfair, and citing the loyalty of his family, who had served this family for generations. However, his words only increased the Archduke's anger. The Archduke cut him off sternly, saying that it was impossible to live peacefully with people like that. He was tired of enduring it and wanted the man to finally understand why he no longer had a place in this house. He added that all this had irritated him for a long time, and he had only held back up to a certain point. Now his patience was exhausted, and the servant had to accept this punishment as due. The Archduke called the servant an insect that should not be allowed near him. The servant, stunned, could not understand what he had done wrong, because in his opinion, it was just one argument. He couldn't help but sarcastically remark that it seemed that not everyone, even after much effort, was capable of becoming a human being. These words only added fuel to the fire. The servant began to beg for help, hoping that someone present would intercede for him. He claimed that the punishment was too harsh and did not correspond to the offense. The Archduke coldly replied that he did not understand why people considered this too severe a punishment. In his view, any display of disobedience deserved a stern response. He added that he was only one word away from finding himself in the same situation. The incident showed how dangerous it was to disobey his orders regardless of rank or merit. Meanwhile, the girl was thinking about how kind and generous the Duke seemed. Her thoughts were interrupted by a maid, who asked worriedly if everything was all right with the child. The girl said she saw a man being banished, and even having his hand cut off for his words. It scared her, because she remembered how people had harmed her and her mother for no apparent reason. The maid hastened to reassure her, assuring her that the Duke always had good reasons for such actions. She knew about the rumors circulating about him, but assured her that he would not act without reason. The girl still wondered if the Duke was really crazy, as she had been told. The maid admitted that sometimes it was hard to deny, but the girl could be sure of her safety. Reassured, the girl still continued to hope for the best. She noticed that the Duke was looking at her with a tense gaze, which confused and frightened her a little. Her thoughts were interrupted by the scream of Haras, who was nearby. The girl decided that it was better not to cross paths with her, and suggested that Cecilia return home, citing the flowers she had collected. The girl thought that the Duke's strange behavior was connected with Haras, but this thought did not give her peace. She was angry with herself for not being able to stop thinking about it. She didn't like that she was acting like a little child, preoccupied with unnecessary worries. She tried to focus on the present moment, but she still felt awkward. Suddenly, she heard a loud cry ordering the doors to be opened immediately. Realizing that they could be knocked down, the girl decided to obey and let the visitor in. Standing behind the door was the same girl who had sharply asked why she was being ignored and not let in. Her irritated tone made the girl feel awkward. The girl tried to explain that she hadn't ignored her on purpose, but the visitor didn't care. She continued to get angry and insist that the doors should always be open. It was quite obvious to the visitor. Since she had come, she should have been let in immediately. The girl did not understand why she should obey, since she had opened the door only because of the loud screams. The girl did not understand why she had to open the doors, since she had only come out because the visitor had started screaming. She felt that this was completely unreasonable, and it irritated her that she had to obey. The girl angrily asked how she talks to the real mistress. She doesn't like her. Everyone here falls into a stupor at the mere mention of her name, even the older brothers and sister. The girls became curious why they really behaved like that. Haras already realized that she saw her as a competitor. Baby was surprised and asked again, and then noted that she had mixed something up because it looked more like the opposite. Because I don't care, and she can stop making noise. The girl hoped that she would not come here again. She'll tell Dad. Haras noted that now everything was clear. She was making a fuss to get his attention. She was standing there on purpose, as she was supposed to come out. Baby said that she hadn't arranged anything and asked if she really wanted to meet her father so much. The girl started screaming that it wasn't so, and she could do it without any detours. Baby asked why she was behaving like that with her, but the young lady did not understand what she was talking about. Baby noticed that her beloved daughter, who could always see him, had come to her for some reason. As if it wasn't enough for her that she had everything but one thing, Haras said that she was annoying and irritating. She shouldn't leave the room or even get out of here at all because she's a fake. Baby noticed that father told her to stay. The girl, screamed that she didn't want this, so she waited for her to get out of here. Baby told her to go to her father herself and tell him about her desires. After that, Haras came closer to her and said that she would regret it then, and that she had better get out if that woman was important to her. Therefore, it is not at all clear what she will do. If Haras is killed by her mother, she must leave here before she does anything. Baby asked her to stop being rude, because she would regret it if she ever touched her mother even with her finger. After that, she used magic. But the girl with black hair did not understand what she was doing. Blonde Baby noted that she was doing nothing now, and she would see if she tried to harm her mother, and now she had to leave. Haras asked if she really thought she could be intimidated by something like that. She didn't even know how the girl had lived before that. Baby decided to ask how she lived, but the girl dodged the question and said that it was not important and she should not do stupid things because many people supported her. Then the maid came up to them, and the girl immediately turned to her and said that Haras had come and started screaming. She says that she is going to kill her mother. Cecilia asked the lady in horror if it was true. Haras noted that this was not the case, and that she was lying because she was the daughter of an archduke, so she would not deceive anyone. Haras didn't really understand what the problem was, because no one heard anything. There was no rudeness. Baby was definitely lying because a real duke's daughter wouldn't say something like that. She managed to twist everything, but suddenly Cecilia said that her mistress would not lie. Haras asked with displeasure what she was even talking about, and assumed that she was now on her side and wanted to say that the girl was lying. Cecilia doesn't call her a liar. She just says that her mistress doesn't lie. They are standing in front of her room, and it is Haras who has come without warning. Mrs. Baby seems to not want to continue the conversation with the girl any longer. Baby said that she started making noise, and she wasn't even going to talk to her. The maid suggested going into the room. The mistress can make appointments in advance if she wants to say something. Tell me how the mansion says the Duke should at least know. Etiquette. Haras screamed for them to go out, and she will not leave it like that, and will tell her father everything right now. The maid asked her to just ignore it and look at the vase instead, because she had chosen it very carefully. It changes color when exposed to the sun, and she thought her mother would like it. You also need to get the documents before they wither and wake her up. Mom has to wait a little longer. Baby also asked Cecilia if she was strange and if she needed to correct her behavior. Racing told me that she was just a little different. Nothing needed to be corrected. She was a little out of step with her age. She noticed that Mrs. Haras was acting like a child. The young gentlemen were already a little bit grown up, but if we talk about Alan, it seems that she needs to act capriciously, unceremoniously, and threaten. Now she understands they are behaving too provocatively. Only one young gentleman will do as an example. It is a little envious that she can be capricious and complain as much as she wants, because if she were the daughter of an archduke, the new house may be nice, but she is glad that her parents are mom and dad. He loved her more than anyone in the world. And Mom, I am now ready to take risks to help her. She is happy with everything. The girl turned to Cecilia and said that if whims and anger are childishness, then she will not do anything to me. It still does not understand how it is and likes itself like this. The maid noted that she also liked Bebe, although she was hiding a lot, but she probably had a reason for this. Bebe confirmed this and noted that she was not Haras. The maid said she was going to get some snacks. The girl was left alone and thought about how she seemed to be considered a real daughter because she brought substantial evidence and she has black hair like the Archduke, blue eyes. So she thinks that the lack of magic is not so important. There are 6 months left until the uprising, but this requires long preparation, and it looks like they have already started. After the failure, the emperor told the duke mockingly that he had chosen his people so carefully, but had missed the most important thing. The girl decided to think about what he was talking about. Then, when Alan entered her room, the girl asked why he came. The boy didn't understand why she called him you and told her to address him as her brother. The girl teased him a little more and then asked him again why he had come again. The guy said he would tell her if she called him brother. It was a gift. The girl was surprised and asked again. Alan smiled and said that he heard that she didn't like flowers, so he brought something else because she had a cool brother. The girl didn't understand why he was so kind to her, and he said that it was because she was his little sister. Babe told him that he already had one. The boy said that if she was talking about Haras, then this girl never considered him her older brother. The lady wondered why this was so, and the boy told you that she said that she didn't like him because he was stupid, and she hadn't called him brother since he came here, so he didn't feel like he had a sister. Baby didn't understand why she said that, because he was stupid to me. The boy was simply delighted when she called him brother. And after that, she noticed that he was stupid. After all, Alan said with a smile that only Bibi understood his true value. The girl asked how he knew her name, and in response, the boy smiled broadly. Bibi herself may be stupid, but his smile makes my soul feel better. The boy noticed that she was smiling, but the girl did not agree and asked how he knew her name and that he should tell the truth and not joke. Alan specifically asked he should know his sister's name, but after he said again that he just came to me, she called him brother, so he gives it to her. B first asked what it was, but the boy only told her to look quickly. The little girl thought that her brother had made the package himself. Alan said that he didn't know how to tie a ribbon nicely, so it didn't look very good, but the gift itself was good. He hoped she wanted to accept it. It was the first time Baby had received a gift from someone other than her parents. When she opened it, there was a chicken inside, and she thought it was a soft toy. Alan noted that this was my father's long penguin when he was little, and that this penguin lives in a distant country. The girl was very surprised by the name of the bird, and the boy told her that they live on ice. This surprised the girl even more, but the boy assured them that they were living well in cold places. This caused a furor. Her trusty older brother will tell you about the penguins. If he remembers correctly, they love to spend time together. Perhaps they stick together because of the cold and protect each other. And Alan said that her brother would protect her too and would always be there. Babe noticed that her brother was very kind. and did not understand why his real sister did not like him. Alan thought it was because he didn't show up for meetings. She didn't hate him that much at first, even though she didn't call him brother, but then she started getting mad because he didn't act like Rexit. He was better that way. Now the girl understood everything, but her brother noted that he was completely fine, and Haras was just too grumpy, unlike his beloved sister. The girl thought that this meant that he was on her side. At first he was surprised, and then he noticed that he really was on her side. The girl said that she would no longer forbid him to come, because he brought a gift, only I had to do it too early or too late. The boy was worried that he had completely forgotten to knock, so he asked for forgiveness. Babe wanted to get such changes so much, but suddenly she heard that they were looking for the young master and told her brother that it seemed like they were looking for him. Alan said he'd better leave quickly to remain the cool big brother, so they said goodbye. The girl thought that Penguin is an interesting name, and it is interesting how this bird flies with such short wings. Also, he looks like her brother. His look is also so stupid. She approached her mother and told her that she had been given a toy as a gift and seemed interested in who had done it. His name is Alan. He is one of the twins, His Highness, and he is very kind. She likes her brother, but this is the first time she feels something like this. This is the first thing she walks indicators when she wakes up. The girl got a good brother, they got a family, and it seems that it was then that she began to throw out the bread that she kept over and over again. When Alan came into her room, the girl didn't tell him to come so often, but it was a good opportunity to throw out the bread. But the boy did not understand what bread she was talking about, and believed that he needed to come more often. He was all for it. The girl said, "No need." She can't be angry when she sees him smile. It seems that only works with her brother. Alan asked if she really wants him not to come. Baby didn't say that, she just thought that he would do it every day, and the young master didn't have that much free time. The boy noted that studying was very tiring, and studying magic and fencing was also boring. The girl asked where all the cookies had gone and told him to go away if he was going to eat all her snacks. Alan was upset because the snacks were more important to her than him, but the girl didn't even deny it. Cecilia said not to worry because she took a lot of cookies. There are still enough so they can eat as much as they want. She also noted that the lady had other things to do on her schedule regarding the clothes they had talked about. They were going to buy new dresses and shoes. The hair madam could have already arrived, and it seems that the lady is in a good mood today. The old clothes are quite suitable. It's better than anything she wore before. Baby could wear nice things when Papa was alive, but not with the new emperor. And she doesn't want to get more, so as not to become too greedy. She really can have a little. The girl wanted to go quickly. The maid said that Madame's clothes were always very beautiful, and she would definitely like it. She said that she would only not be too greedy and would take one or two things. Cecilia noted that a minimum of 100 was needed. His lordship noted the empty wardrobe. Such was the order that it was a little more than usual, but no big deal. His lordship's children changed their clothes 3 or 4 times a day. Bebe noticed that her brother always wore the same clothes. The maid said that in fact there are exceptions everywhere, and 100 is not that much. They don't have her clothes, so first they will have to choose the size. They shouldn't worry. You just need to take measurements. The maid will take care of the rest. They will pick everything to suit her taste. They can go together because her brother also needs new clothes. Cecilia asked the young gentleman if he was going to switch to the new season's clothes. Well, the boy said that it was not so. He felt like he had grown a little. These were not very comfortable. Bebe asked if he really couldn't go with her. The maid denied it, so the boy said he would go with her. The maid had to accept it. But still, it was great. At the girl's request, she decided to approach her mother. She took the penguin and put it next to her mother and wanted to tell her that she would go, but would return soon. Alan told her not to worry because he would take care of her. The girl had never been here before. People around don't whisper as they used to. Maybe it's because of her older brother's presence, but it's still good. The maid introduced the main guest room. The room is large and is used when a large number of people come. She suggested that they hurry up because someone might be waiting for them. Baby was simply delighted and noted that the room was really big. It's a room the size of a small banquet hall. Her brother invited her to sit on the sofa, but there was also Haras, who said that this was a redneck. She said it was fake, even here in this one, and was already delighted that she could get new clothes. Bebe confirmed this and noted that she was not expecting her here at all. Haras said that she was the daughter of the Archduke. Alan approached her and asked why she was always picking on her. Haras pretended that she didn't understand what he was talking about and noted that they were just chatting and asked what he was doing there. Alan began to ask her with a shout how she talks to her brother and noted that she had become too spoiled. He came to help his little sister pick out clothes, so he asked her why she had come. The girl said that she had heard that Madame would bring clothes for the Duke's daughter. She noticed that there were only 2 of them. Aster was currently at the academy, so she didn't understand who else was supposed to come. The maid informed the lady that the Archduke personally ordered to pick out clothes for Lady Bibi. The girl emphasized in her response that she was amused by Cecilia's actions. She noted that the one who had to wear the clothes she had thrown away was behaving unreasonably. At that moment, the lady entered the room, thinking that she had been expected for a long time. She was surprised that no one had warned her in advance about the need to select clothes for several people. Haras, barely hiding her anger, asked a caustic phrase, clarifying how difficult it would be to choose clothes, and why this caused displeasure in the lady. The woman, having collected her thoughts, quickly replied that she did not see any problems. She also remembered the need to greet another lady, Madame Elouan, whom she had not yet met. Cecilia formally introduced Mrs. Bibi Ivland, the newest member of the Archduke's family. This added to the tension in the situation. Haras, expressing dissatisfaction, asked about the legality of using this surname. The maid, not embarrassed to raise her voice, reminded that such a decision was approved by His Highness. The girl snorted, saying that it was annoying. The maid responded by warning that if she continued to disobey orders, it would cause serious discontent. Haras took the remark as a threat and coldly warned Cecilia that she risked serious punishment if she did not start listening to her. Cecilia calmly noted that if her actions were necessary to protect her mistress, she was ready to do anything. Haras, trying to maintain the appearance of generosity, suggested forgetting about the incident. Noticing that the 5-year-old girl was only saying bad things, Elouan decided to clarify what was required of her at the moment. Cecilia explained that Mrs. Baby still lacked suitable clothes and offered to take her measurements to sew a new wardrobe. The outfits were selected based on general parameters and age, but now they have the opportunity to specify the sizes and choose something suitable. The woman approached Bebe and began taking measurements. This was new for the girl, as her father had never invited such specialists. Haras, sitting to the side, remarked that it was not worth making such an effort for the girl, but the seamstresses did not understand her hint. Then Haras said directly that she saw no point in these actions because she would soon leave anyway. Her message was imbued with indifference. Cecilia intervened and emphasized the need to carefully select the sizes to avoid mistakes. Alan added that the clothes should be loose, as his sister will soon start growing and gaining weight. Cecilia asked Haras why she was staying in the room. Haras replied that she had nothing to do and was advised to leave so as not to disturb. Irritated, Haras was indignant at the request to leave the premises. The maid reminded her that new clothes had recently been bought for her, so she was already provided for in this matter. Haras couldn't understand why Cecilia was constantly criticizing her. She thought that this attitude towards her was unfair. Baby stood up and firmly stated that if Haras tried to accuse Cecilia of anything, she would tell the Archduke about it, since it was Haras who started the conflict. Haras ironically emphasized that this did not frighten her at all, but Alan intervened, asking his sister to stop the quarrel. Haras became increasingly angry because it seemed to her that everyone was against her. She firmly stated that she would sort things out herself without her brother's interference. Haras was very angry because everything that was happening irritated her. It seemed that everyone was against her, and this caused a wave of indignation in her. She was determined that she could handle it herself, so her brother shouldn't interfere in her affairs. Alan wanted to say something, but in the end, he agreed not to interfere. Babe turned to Haras, reminding her that she had recently said that there was no one left on her side. Then she asked what she thought about her. Haras replied that she didn't want anything, which surprised Bebe, who began to think that Haras was simply afraid to talk to her and was avoiding frankness. The mistress shouted that she was not afraid at all, but Baby still could not understand why they were there. In her eyes, all the servants looked scary, as if they were chosen for their appearance. The girl wondered what Haras was going to talk about, since she had seen everyone else off Bebe, then asked her if she was being mean on purpose. Haras confirmed that she really didn't like Bebe. She added that only she could be the mistress, and the girl was just a servant. Baby noted that Haras was afraid of her. For a child who grew up in a normal environment, Haras was too strange. Perhaps her life was also difficult, and she was afraid that Baby would take away everything that belonged to her. Cecilia said that after her birth, Haras was cared for by an elderly couple, and her cruelty may have been due to the fact that she lived in poverty with them. Baby wondered if she should take it seriously at all. Haras laughed, claiming that her words were funny, especially when the girl said that she was afraid of her. Baby couldn't understand what the problem was. The girl assured her that she wasn't afraid of people like her. She told Haras to stop acting like that because she didn't care about her attitude. It seemed strange, but the girl was very angry. She noticed that Haras thought too highly of himself and exaggerated the importance of his position. Baby was surprised by the girl's large vocabulary, which was strange. It was unclear why she treated others like that. Perhaps she was treated badly, although she spoke very well. Babe had heard similar thoughts in the past and thought that she had learned to communicate through her reincarnations. But why Haras was on the same level as her, she could not understand. She had an unpleasant feeling, and Baby realized that the protective spell had been broken. This meant that someone had attacked her mother, and the girl was terrified. She rushed to the door with a scream, but Haras in turn demanded an explanation, asking where Baby was going in the middle of their conversation. But the girl didn't even hear her because she urgently needed to go to her mother. She couldn't waste time talking. The girl couldn't understand why she was being ignored so abruptly, and why she left without explaining herself. Even the maid couldn't understand what was going on. Baby screamed and said that no one should disturb her because she urgently needed to go to her mother. Haras began to insist that they had not finished the conversation. Baby did not understand what Haras was doing and ordered him to move away. Haras was perplexed, believing that Baby had no right to treat her like that. It was obvious to Baby that Haras was afraid of her. The girl said that she did not have time for this showdown and was going to leave, ignoring her. Haras was surprised that Baby would dare to behave so rudely because she had not yet been measured. She could not believe that the girl dared to treat her like that. Baby was wondering if she should use her power, but at that moment her brother came up to her. He asked Haras to move away, and this made her think. Haras asked who he was to give her orders. The guy replied that he was her brother, and that gave him the right to interfere in the situation. Haras disagreed, saying he was simply bringing shame on their family. Alan, however, could not understand what she meant and remained perplexed. The girl screamed and said that her brother had received the Archduke's mighty power, but she had no intention of using it. Everything he did was meaningless. Babe continued to insist that he should be ashamed of betraying his real sister for a fake one. Alan remained calm and ignored her words. Alan used magic to throw the girl to the floor. Horrified, she asked what he was doing, not understanding why he was doing this to her. Alan said they could go, ignoring Haras's screams. She continued to claim that Baby had become violent and had grabbed his leg. Alan warned Haras that if she continued to bully his sister, she would regret it. He was ready to protect her, despite everything Haras said. Haras again claimed that her sister was her, but Alan replied that he knew that. However, he did not agree with her opinion, and did not consider her to be that. She had never considered this man her brother, and so the whole situation seemed absurd. They turned and began to leave, leaving no more words. His hand was warm and strong, and the feeling that he was truly on her side filled her with inner peace, as if she were not alone in this world. Bebe cried, but from happiness, because she was worried about her mother. It was strange because before, there were always a lot of people in this place, and now there was silence. There was a threat coming from her mother's room, and her intuition told her that she needed to go there as quickly as possible to understand what was happening and help. When they entered the room, there were men who were clearly not expecting to meet them. Their facial expressions showed panic because they had been promised that no one would come. Alan was shocked by the audacity of those who came. The assassins walked right into the Archduke's mansion, breaking all the rules he knew about the safety of this place. The men began to ask questions of the leader, trying to understand what they should do. Now, they already understood that they would have to go back, but they did not know how to do it. One of the men said they would deal with her mother quickly. However, it seemed as if his actions were being held back by something invisible, like lightning, striking him every time. They couldn't understand why they hadn't been warned of such circumstances. Perhaps the Duke himself had cast a protective spell on her, and that was what was stopping them. The men did not believe it, but they knew that there was no time to lose. They decided that it was time to leave, because standing there was pointless, and they could not risk it any longer. Alan asked them where they were going, but the men began to make excuses, insisting that they had done nothing. They asked ironically if 2 children could stop them. Alan didn't hesitate and used magic to show his power. He knew that it would be enough to show them his determination and power. The 2 men looked at him and started asking questions, trying to figure out what was going to happen next. They knew this was no joke, and the young gentleman was serious about the fight. The man asked the captain what they would do next. If they didn't stop them, they would accumulate a lot of problems, and killing the children would be a serious mistake. The man assured him that this boy could actually use his powers, and they could face serious consequences. However, the captain did not consider this a real threat. Most of the servants in the living room had fainted from the force Alan had used, indicating that the situation had already gotten out of control, and no one had come to help. This meant she had to step in. She went to her brother, told him she had a plan, and asked him to help her when she passed out. However, she insisted that he keep it a secret. The boy did not understand what she was talking about, but he saw her determination and knew that she did not just say it. He tried to stop her, insisting that she shouldn't take the risk because it could be too dangerous for her and everyone around her. Baby assured him that she could not let go of those who threatened her mother. It was too important to her, and she was willing to risk it for the sake of protection. She used her magic, assuring that no one would die and that they would all survive. The men, however, were terrified by how great her power was. The men were shocked, not understanding where this girl got such powerful magic from. It was something incredible, and they did not expect to face such an opponent. They began to wonder where such power could come from. Perhaps the emperor himself had sent them, or it was magic aimed at driving out her mother. Beeb was ready to punish those who were behind this attack. She felt that this moment had come, and her determination only grew stronger. But before she acted, she wanted to know who was behind all this. It was important to her to expose those hiding in the shadows. Alan asked his sister in horror if she had actually used her power. He was shocked by her action and did not know how to react to it. Baby confirmed that she had used magic, but added that she would not be able to reach the bed and asked her brother to support her when she passed out. She said she needed to get some sleep. Now Alan continued to worry, noticing that she was clearly in pain and needed help. Baby assured him that she was fine. She was just tired. She asked him not to tell anyone about it, not to worry because her strength would soon be restored. She reminded him that he had to become stronger if he wanted to protect her. She believed that he could become strong and hoped for his support when she woke up. Alan was in a panic, trying to wake up his sister. He couldn't believe she had passed out and wanted her to wake up as soon as possible. At that moment, a maid burst into the room, who upon noticing them immediately began asking questions, trying to understand what had happened in this place. As the maid came closer, she calmed down, realizing that her mistress was simply sleeping, and the situation was not as dangerous as she might have thought at first. Alan was very upset and sobbing, but also felt relieved. He had been worried for a long time that something terrible had happened and was afraid of the worst consequences. The maid realized that something terrible had happened and, suspecting the presence of murderers, began to hastily question the young master about what had happened. He didn't know how to explain the situation, since the killers had already arrived, and his sister had dealt with them on her own. This was a positive thing, but she still should have called for help. However, the girl could not leave them, as she was connected to what was happening. The maid noticed that the killers did not appear to be faking or losing consciousness, which meant that the situation was more dangerous than they thought. The gentleman reassured her, explaining that it was his little sister who had decided to deal with the situation. At that moment, the Archduke entered the room. The Archduke, noticing the change in the atmosphere of the mansion, began to ask what had happened here. He felt that there had been a sudden release of energy which was clearly not from him. The gentleman carefully picked up the girl and asked Alan if everything was okay with his son, Alan. Noticing that everything was fine with him, was only worried about his sister's condition. He tried not to worry, but he still wanted to be sure that his little sister would be okay, since that was an important detail of the situation. The man began to use magic to clarify the situation and asked the boy what exactly he meant, since not everything was clear. Alan explained that he realized this the last time Baby used her power. He calmly said that the girl said something before she lost consciousness. The gentleman asked him not to worry and said that it was important to explain exactly how everything happened in order to understand what the matter was and what consequences it could have. The boy was hesitant whether he should tell the whole truth or hide the details. The master insistently told him to speak frankly without hiding anything. Alan was hesitant about telling about Haras because it could cause problems for his little sister, but he decided to explain anyway. The gentleman reassured him that he should not worry. He would listen to his story without judgment, so the boy began to explain what had happened. He said that Baby was choosing clothes for herself when Haras arrived. The girl started arguing and asking for clothes of the right size. At that moment, Baby screamed, "Mama," and tried to run away. Alan realized that the situation was urgent, so he went with his sister. Suddenly, the killers appeared trying to escape, but he stopped them. Then Baby used her power. He was afraid that his father would be angry with his sister, but he suddenly said that they both did the right thing in handling the situation. Alan was confused and asked if he had really done everything right. His father confirmed this, and then the boy again spoke about his sister's condition. The gentleman calmly told him not to worry, because his sister was strong, and everything would be fine. Alan felt confident in his father's words, because he was always right. Alan admitted that he promised to protect his sister, but he couldn't do it. He felt guilty that he couldn't help her at the right moment. The Duke reassured him, saying that he was still too young to fully handle such situations. Baby was too strong, and he would try to protect her. Alan decided that he needed to become stronger so that he could protect his little sister next time, and would start training for that starting tomorrow. He realized that Baby often hid her feelings and kept her distance, which reminded him of his own childhood. This attached him to her even more. Everything changed when they lost their mother. On that tragic day, he was the last person to see her alive, which left an indelible mark on his soul. They were attacked in the carriage, and the assailants threw him out, taking only his mother. The father later sent a knight to search, fearing that the killers might still be nearby. Mom wasn't found right away, and that scene stayed in Alan's memory for the rest of his life. He felt that if he had been stronger, he could have done something to save her. After this tragedy, Alan did not take any action for a long time. Unlike Rexit, he did not strive to become stronger, believing that he had already lost everything. Meeting Baby changed everything. She became like a little sister to him, and he decided that he would protect her at any cost, no matter how hard it was. The father was pleased with his son's decision. Alan confirmed his words, stating that he wanted to become strong to protect his sister and be a support for his family. The boy asked his father to help him with his training, and then added that the master needed to go as there were matters requiring his attention. Alan was surprised, asking why he had to leave since his sister was still there. She said she wanted to see him when she opened her eyes. His father reassured him and said he would return later. Alan obeyed and left, knowing it was better not to upset his father. Cecilia immediately began to apologize, claiming that what had happened was her fault. She felt that she had failed to prevent the disaster. The Archduke asked, since when his men began to kneel before him, if he himself had not ordered it. He insisted that she stand up. He noted that Cecilia was the only one left with the children and asked where everyone else was. He was unhappy about their absence. Cecilia explained that the young master had used too much force, causing the others to pass out. She stayed with the children to protect them. Cecilia said that it was her fault that she had failed to protect them earlier. However, the Duke said that she had done everything she could. The Duke noted that they had tried to harm his children and guests, so he asked how this had happened, given the strange events of the last few days. He emphasized once again that the enemies were trying to harm his family and guests. This made him think about the events that had taken place. He noticed that strange things had been happening lately, including attacks and threats that were becoming more frequent and serious. Vassals ignore his orders, and assassins freely enter his house, which has become a big problem that needs to be dealt with urgently. The captain, named Reox, apologized for what happened and promised to thoroughly check everything in order to understand the situation and eliminate the threat. The gentleman asked if he really thought this would make a difference. He had almost lost 2 children, and the guest he had allowed to stay here was in danger. He can't believe that something like this is happening in his house. They will conduct a thorough investigation. The master does not want this because he thought that he understood everything earned from a simple son of nobles to the commander of the knights. He could guess how important the safety of his family was to him after that incident. The Duke didn't understand what the point of an investigation was if it had already happened. The very fact that the murderer got here is a sign of his safety. Reox must be punished, and he will demote him to a simple knight. But he was simply horrified and asked the gentleman if it was possible to talk to the captain. Before the night, they had been vassals of the ducal family for several generations. Apparently, there was nothing to talk about, so the gentleman turned and asked if he was talking about those very vassals who locked him in this cage and did whatever they wanted. The man began to speak, asking to be heard, and explained that everything had happened because of his carelessness. He admitted his mistake and promised that he would not make such mistakes again, would not tolerate it again. He gave his interlocutor sufficient time to speak, but he did not pay due attention and ignored his words, which greatly disappointed him. The gentleman, without waiting for any further explanations, gave a strict order for him to immediately bring the deputy commander, who was to take his place. After this, the Duke approached the bed where the girl lay and watched her sleep with tenderness. He could not help but be moved by her carefree face. The girl slept peacefully and looked so cute that the Duke couldn't help but think what an amazing child she was and how lucky he was to be with her. The Emperor killed her father, abused her and her mother, and only she had imperial blood left in her. She is the last blood relative. And after these words, he began to dig under the imperial family. But what Baby said about how the Emperor hid a woman and a child in the palace could not be confirmed. Instead, I learned that the current emperor's expensive toy was in the Eastern Palace, and this toy was recently lost, so it is difficult to understand what exactly was being discussed. But if you compare the time of disappearance, it becomes obvious that the toys were a mother and daughter, and when the baby came to the mansion to meet him, he immediately realized that he wanted to officially join the family. But she didn't ask, so he pretended not to understand. After her will be, with tribute through the labyrinth, he noticed clothes and shoes that did not suit her at all. But she didn't ask for anything again, so the only thing he did was match her pace. It's obvious that she's hinting at her desires, even though she doesn't ask directly. It's like she's afraid, but she gains courage when it comes to her mother's well-being. And he doesn't know how she lived, but if you believe Cecilia's reports, the small body is full of scars, and she has nightmares every night, but she moves forward slowly, trying her best to survive. After these thoughts, the Duke became embarrassed and realized that he had neglected everything too much. Xenox realized that he could not trust anyone. The butler remarked that it seemed to him that this place had always been like this. The gentleman thought that he also wanted to say that he had such a cool butler. The man said that flattery was not his strong point. Then Deputy Commander Lewis came in. The Duke asked him if he wanted to tell him something, but he didn't quite understand what he was talking about. He is confident that the deputy conducted an investigation before coming, and it looks like he's going to give all the credit to Reox again. The man bowed. He said he didn't mean to hide it, and he was asking for forgiveness. The Duke said he didn't need to apologize, he just needed to show it. It turns out that there was quite a lot of information in such a short time, and the circumstances were such that he was able to conduct the investigation more quickly. He was sure the commander would have done better. The Duke said that modesty was good, but too much would be poison for him, so don't overdo it. The master ordered to gather people he could trust. Alan Beebe and the guest need more security. The gentleman was not against it, of course. The knight who did nothing before Alan came should be put on probation. He should get a week. It was strange at the moment the dukes were divided into two groups. The first group of nobles, led by the captain, and the second is commoners, under the leadership of a deputy. The first is from the ruling class. The second rises up the career ladder, only thanks to skills. What does the second group do if the captain does not want to perform his duties? The knights of the ruling group have the right to meet with the Duke, receive orders from him personally. The deputy could not get an audience until he was called. The deputy did not understand why the Duke had called him and was having such a conversation. He noted that he was entrusting him with what was the captain's duty. The Duke noted that it seemed the previous captain had said nothing. He would be demoted, and now he will be a temporary replacement, and he will be able to make decisions that he considers necessary. He promised to cope with any work that he gives. He does his best, but he would like Reox to be the captain. For the second group, nothing will change. As long as the first one exists, it is better to leave the management in the same hands than to get a new leader. It will be less tiring, and he thinks that his thoughts are something like this. So the Duke said he agreed, and the man happily said he would go. Then, they will do everything and ensure that the master orders it. Xenox turned to the butler and asked if he had anything he wanted to tell him. The man said he wanted to, and he thought it had something to do with those men. The butler decided to examine them while he was talking, and it seems he knows these people. There are 3 groups of mercenaries who will do anything for a fee. Among them are mercenaries called Red Faces, who are considered the lowest class. Distinguishing features include a red mark on the thumb in the shape of a red paw. Recently, they have begun to appear more frequently in the Empire in order to increase its power, and it is foreign that they have chosen the duchy as their target. Also, the Emperor has been acting very strange lately. As he said, there are more and more mercenaries in the Empire. They are secretly hired as knights. They have reason to worry because the man killed his own brother to deal with this emperor. The Duke noted that he could only trust Curtis. The butler asked if he needed to repeat about flattery because it was better not to trust him. In general, it was better not to trust the Duke. Someone might have taken advantage of his weakness to get in. Xanox agrees, it's best to act as if that were the case. Sometimes the butler reminds him of his father. He was very strict, and although someone had to be like that for him, he himself is a father. Nothing can be done about it. The Duke reported that the butler's child was 8 years old, and that he was the same age as the twins, which he found interesting, because they were all equally young. The man admitted that he was a late bloomer, but Allison thought he was adorable. She even suggested that they take him with them next time, which seemed like a nice idea. The butler began to wonder why the gentleman had suddenly started talking about this. It was unexpected, although it was possible that such thoughts sometimes came to him too. He felt as if the Duke were returning to the time when Allison was still alive, as if the past was coming alive again in the conversation about the child. Until this moment, the butler had only heard about her from Cecilia, but had never seen her in person. The topic of her now seemed to him more and more interesting and mysterious. Cecilia always said that the girl had a very mature character, and he always wondered how she could become so mature so early. The more he learned about her, the more she reminded him of Allison. Her features, her behavior, even her strength of spirit began to associate with him. She also had many scars, but despite this, she never showed fear. He fell in love with this image, which was so different from his own. The butler noticed that the atmosphere around him was beginning to seem familiar to him, which was strange, since a lot of time had passed since then. He had been coming here a lot lately. When Bebe came to the mansion with her mother, she immediately reminded him of his late wife, and it was amazing. The Duke immediately fell in love with Bebe at first sight, but later he realized that she used magic to put herself into a deep sleep, like Sleeping Beauty. It seemed that she was trying to hide her powers, as she was close to the limits of her physical and mental capabilities, which made the butler worried. Despite this, he hadn't felt such excitement from looking at someone in a long time. The feeling was so strong that he couldn't ignore it. He hoped that she would understand his feelings when she woke up, because he hadn't felt such a connection with someone in a long time. The butler informed the Duke that he had ordered additional information to be gathered about the Duchess, and he was now ready to report the results. This information might not be useful, but it was important to make sure that the gentleman was ready for such a conversation, which could be decisive. The Duke calmly allowed them to continue, assuring them that he was ready for change. He himself had decided that it was time to act and look at everything from a different perspective. Babe woke up and was surprised to think how well she had slept. Sleep had been a rest for her, and she felt much better. Cecilia was glad when she noticed that the lady had woken up and immediately came over to express her joy. The girl smiled and greeted the maid. Her kindness was obvious, and Cecilia immediately rushed to her, hugging her and asking if everything was okay. Baby asked the maid to leave her alone, with a light laugh, as her hugs could be too strong and even suffocate her. Cecilia said with surprise that she thought her heart would burst with worry when she thought Baby would never wake up again. The girl replied with a smile that it hurt, but there was no need to worry. Cecilia still continued to worry. It was impossible not to leave her in worry. Cecilia moved away, but she was still worried. She couldn't hide how worried she was about her mistress, even when she heard that she was feeling well. After they had talked a little, the girl said that she had slept very soundly and did not remember any nightmares, which also made Cecilia happy. The nanny noticed that usually no one smiles in such situations, but Baby was clearly in a good mood, which pleased everyone who cared for her. It was strange to think that Baby, despite what she had been through, felt so good. At that moment when everything was at its limit, she showed neither fear nor fatigue. On the contrary, Bebe felt amazingly rested, even as if something good had happened to her, despite all the worries. Her heart was pounding with excitement, but it only made her laugh. She was happy that someone actually cared about her. The maid had to make sure that Baby was really okay. The girl answered that she was, and asked how long she had slept. The woman reported that she had probably slept for more than half a day, but less than a day. It was necessary to calculate how much energy was spent on rest. Perhaps Bebe would sleep less when she grew up a little. But the maid suddenly changed her tone, and the girl was frightened by her reaction. Cecilia laughed and explained that she herself was the one who was scared, but soon wondered how it might end. Babe said that she was not afraid, and in the future she would fall asleep, exactly like this, which alarmed the maid. Cecilia asked in surprise what she meant because she was close to the girl, and it was important to understand what she was thinking. Baby reassured her that there was no need to worry, it was a normal dream, and she had read that children sometimes fall asleep suddenly without any fear. Cecilia pointed out that such things concerned the babies, and not the lady, but Baby again said that everything was fine and she should not worry. The maid realized that the girl was hiding something and did not insist on explanations. She decided to wait until everything became clear. Beebe agreed and added that she would explain everything in the future when the right moment came. Cecilia said with a smile that Bebe looked brighter than usual today, and that made her really happy. Baby brushed it off, saying that she was just being nice to her and not to overdo it. It wasn't anything special. Cecilia noticed that even her grumbling became lighter when she saw the girl smiling. At this point, Baby wondered what those strange sounds were. She became frightened, and her heart began to beat faster. They soon noticed movement, and Alan appeared from around the corner, causing Baby great surprise. Baby was scared, but when she saw her brother, she felt relieved. Her fear disappeared when she found out who was next to her. Alan said happily that he had been waiting for this moment. He was happy that his sister had finally woken up. He jumped up from his seat and hurried towards her, but the girl did not understand what had happened, what had made him hurry so much. Alan expressed concern, asking if she realized how worried he was that she would not wake up. Baby replied that she had warned him, and there was no reason to worry. She was not afraid at all. Alan said he still couldn't help but worry, and although the girl didn't understand why he was so excited, she pointed to his haggard face, saying that he looked shabby, to which he looked surprised, and asked her again. Alan asked if he should go wash his face. Baby said it wouldn't help, and that he should forget about it. Cecilia watched their conversation with a smile, noticing that the young gentleman spent the entire time next to his sister without leaving her. Alan couldn't even sleep because he was so worried, and it became a difficult test for him. Baby didn't think that her brother had been there all this time, and asked if it was true that he hadn't left until she woke up. Alan replied that she herself said that she wanted to see him next to her when she woke up, and that was his main reason for staying. Beebe assumed that he stayed here to fulfill her request, and her guess turned out to be correct. She also noticed that her brother looked tired and said that he probably wanted to sleep. Alan countered that he didn't need sleep because he was so strong. The bags under Alan's eyes became even more noticeable, and his face became pale, which did not escape Bebe's notice. She expressed concern and said that he looked like a good brother. Perhaps Baby was bothered by the thought that his tiredness might be a sign of weakness, and so she couldn't just thank him for everything. Beebe decided it was best to keep her distance and said she wanted to get some sleep. This seemed like the best solution, to not show her vulnerability. Cecilia was surprised and offered to at least eat, but Bebe refused. She did not want to worry about food and only wanted to rest. The girl insisted that she wanted to sleep and added that her brother should also sleep since she had already woken up and seen his face. Alan replied that she was worried about him, but Baby again insisted that it was time for him to go and that she would be fine. Baby said that he should go to bed, and tomorrow he would be able to come to her, not so tired and battered. Cecilia suggested going together, but when everyone left the room, Bebe got out of bed, deciding to spend the rest of the day on her own. When everyone left, Bebe felt the need to get rid of old things. She planned to throw out the bread and hoped that today she would be able to get rid of more. Bebe turned to her mother and noticed that this place suited them well. Her body had recovered significantly, and she was ready to continue. She felt that she would soon receive the documents and remained confident that they would be able to meet soon, continuing to move towards their goal. Babe found herself wondering if the room belonged to her or her brother. She wondered more and more if the atmosphere in the room had changed, if he had become more possessive. The boy explained that it was all for safety. Cecilia noted that she didn't have to worry now because there were knights in front of her room, and danger shouldn't bother her. However, the boy said that he still did not trust them. He added that the corridor was now even more lively because the knights were standing in pairs and guarding Bebe's room. It was certainly a burden, but Bebe was glad that the knights stayed outside. She didn't have to face their gazes very often, which made her feel more free. Even knights cannot be trusted, and Baby understood that she would discuss all her plans only with her brother because he was the only person she could trust with important decisions. But despite her words, Bebe said that she did not want her brother to do this, although the boy insisted that this was what was best and that his desire was to protect her at any cost. The girl's brother was a man obsessed with his goal. No matter how much she refused, he continued to come to her more insistently every day, not allowing her to forget about his intentions. He noticed that he had increased the amount of training, and this was an important moment for him. Baby as always tried to understand what was hidden behind his words. Baby didn't think it was a bad thing, but he said he actually saw it as a positive. She couldn't understand why it was so important to him. The girl thought that he didn't like it very much, but if that was the case, he could always say that he didn't want to continue training. But he didn't dare to take such a step, although he was tormented by fatigue. However, this is not true. In order to protect his sister, he decided to become stronger and asked for more training because this was the only way he could hope for success and his role as a protector. But he seemed to have forgotten what a terrible man their father was. He was always strict, sometimes even cruel, and there was no room for caring in his methods. This left its mark on his brother. The girl was horrified by what her brother told her. He went on to say that even the teachers were worried because his training methods were only suitable for children over 15. Babe told him to give up this torture if it was too hard and not to push it too far. However, her brother was against it and insisted that he had to continue training to be strong. He said that he had to do everything he could to become dark and strong in order to protect her. Baby noted that he was indeed becoming stronger with each passing day, so she was not worried. Alan added that since she had shared her secret with him, he now wanted to tell her his too. It was important to him, and he hoped for her understanding. Bae was surprised not understanding what he was talking about and asked him again. The boy replied that he was actually much stronger than Rexit, which might have been a surprise to her. Bebe was stunned, and then she noticed that it was incredible. She couldn't understand what exactly he meant and didn't know how to react to such confident words. He said that her surprise was quite natural because it was true. Baby understood that he was confident in his strength, which could compete not only with Rexit, but also with the Archduke himself. It doesn't seem like he can control her, the boy said. It was true, and she could wait. He only needed a month to prove it to her. Baby said she was okay with him not being very strong, so he shouldn't overexert himself. He assumed she was worried about him and said she was so kind. After that, he took the cookies, and the girl was furious about it. He ate her favorite chocolate chip cookies. And one last thing, the boy said that he would become stronger, and the girl thought there that she needed to ask Cecilia to bring more cookies. Training was about to start, and he had to go. However, he was wondering if there was any way to get stronger without going to training and spending a lot of time on it. Baby turned to her brother and asked him why he didn't ask her anything. She expected him to show interest, but he didn't, which surprised her a little. He was puzzled by her question and did not understand what she was talking about. The girl explained that she was telling him her secret, and Alan was very happy because she trusted him with her secret. The boy replied that secrets should not be treated so lightly. He was sure that she would decide when and to whom to tell him, and he was not worried about it. The girl realized that this meant that everyone was waiting for her to decide when to reveal her secret, and this feeling turned out to be quite comfortable for her. In her past lives, the emperor would torture her if he learned of her abilities. When her mother died and her powers became apparent, the girl's life became a real nightmare full of fears. The boy seemed worried about her, but said that he would wait patiently, even if it took decades, until she decided she was ready to share the secret. Therefore, the girl should not think that she is being pressured. After these words, the boy stood up preparing to go to training, where important lessons awaited him. Cecilia noticed that the relationship between the brother and sister seemed quite good, but Baby replied that this was not the case, and that she was just pretending that they were close. Then Cecilia asked what exactly had happened and who was outside. The maid brought a snack for Bibi, and the girl waited impatiently to see what might be there. Bebe was delighted and thought that there might be something new in the snack. However, she immediately admitted that she was worried because lately it seemed to her that there were too many sweets. The girl assured the maid that she ate regular food too, so there was no need to worry. She tried to calm her down, saying that it was not a problem that required attention. People often say that sweets can ruin your appetite, but Bebe claimed that she eats everything including desserts and doesn't dwell on it. B decided to find out what would be for dessert. When she was brought strawberry cake with whipped cream, the girl was very pleased because it was her favorite treat. The cake was really delicious, and Cecilia noticed that every time she heard Baby's happy voice, she wanted to bring cakes as often as possible. The little girl was surprised to hear that her voice sounded happy. Cecilia confirmed that she really did look happy, and the girl couldn't help but agree. Beebe explained that her joy was linked to delicious food, and she would like her mother to try this dessert too if she were around. The maid promised that she would bake something delicious when Mom woke up so that she could enjoy this treat too. The girl asked again who was outside and assumed it was the person who had brought the cake. Cecilia replied that it was one of the maids working in the kitchen. Cecilia explained that the maid decided to bake this cake after learning about Bebe's preferences and was very glad that she was able to please the girl. Bebe noticed that the maid wanted to say something because she was clearly thinking, and the girl decided to find out what she wanted to discuss. Cecilia asked Baby if she was worried that the food might be poisoned. The girl replied that she did not think there was anything wrong with the dessert and was calmly going to eat it. She claimed that she was not worried because her dad was keeping an eye on safety, and the food tasted very good and did not arouse any suspicions. Cecilia, pleased with her answer, did not hide her joy that everything was fine. Bebe, in turn, told the maid not to worry because such situations happen quite often. She reminded them that there was security now and that nothing had happened last time. Despite all the fears, the Archduke had obviously done something, judging by the flow of magical energy. The maid assumed that his lordship felt some kind of threat, but this was the safest room, and she could not have changed it even if she had wanted to. They began to discuss whether an additional maid was needed. However, Baby did not think it was necessary, as her surroundings were quite sufficient for a quiet life. Cecilia noticed that the girl started getting up early when she was not around. Baby explained that she had simply gotten rid of the rest of the bread and would now get up later. She assured the maid that she would get up early if necessary, but not to worry because the servants did not like her. Her nanny agreed, but added that this did not apply to everyone. Baby was surprised when she learned that a maid had come today. It was Anas, and the maid said that she had come to apologize to the girl. Cecilia was surprised that the lady remembered Anas. The girl explained that Anas often came to apologize, and even brought a lot of cookies as a sign of reconciliation. Cecilia thought that Anas seemed to be seeking forgiveness, but it was unclear why she did not bring snacks with an apology. The girl replied that she could only be allowed to do so with her consent. Cecilia explained that Anas waited because she had promised to apologize only with Bebe's permission. She always followed this rule, and the girl understood it perfectly well. Baby decided that she would accept the apology, but only if Anas brought a huge chocolate cake, not something simple. She expected that would be a worthy gift. When the maid reported that the cake had been eaten, the girl was shocked. She could not believe that it had disappeared so quickly, without even having time to show due attention. The nanny smiled when she saw how quickly Baby ate the entire cake. The girl herself admitted that she couldn't resist such a delicious treat. Next time, Baby promised to order a large chocolate cake. Cecilia noticed that the flowers were beginning to fade and offered to pick new ones to replace the old ones. Baby did not agree with this proposal, as she thought that Haras would definitely be there. The maid told her that she was forbidden to go there because of the previous incident. The girl realized that Haras did make noise sometimes. Cecilia explained that she would now be accompanied by a knight if she wanted to go outside. The situation will not happen again, and Haras will definitely not do anything unreasonable. The girl admitted that she does not like knights and does not want to deal with them. Baby explained that she did not like people in armor who looked down on others. Cecilia promised to pass these words on to her, as they meant a lot to the girl. The girl noticed that the gentleman was probably busy because she had not seen him for a long time. Cecilia said that he had a lot to do, but he left a letter for Bebe, which arrived in the morning. The girl wondered how busy he could be if they couldn't meet. Cecilia explained that the letter contained important instructions, including a request not to feed the dog. The letter stated that feeding the dog was strictly prohibited. Baby immediately understood the importance of this, although it surprised her because she did not expect such a ban. The girl repeated in bewilderment that she had been asked not to feed the dog. She could not understand why this was so important and what was behind this instruction. Cecilia was amazed at how well Bibi read. She thought the girl would need to be taught, but it turned out that she already understood reading very well. The girl replied that her mother taught her. She read a lot of books after returning to the past to master magic and develop her abilities. Reading was liberating for her, but she decided not to talk about it. It remained her little secret, which she did not want to share. The girl thought about it because there were no dogs in the Duke's mansion. Cecilia confirmed that they do not breed dogs there, and this is indeed strange in the context of the letter. However, the girl did not understand why she was asked so as not to feed the dog. She felt that there was some hidden meaning in this, but she could not immediately understand it. Beeb thought that maybe it was just a quiz. She decided to think a little more and try to figure out what was really behind this strange question. She soon realized that Alan actually resembled a puppy and was asked not to feed him. This revealed to her the meaning of the prohibition, which seemed strange to her. The maid noted that this could indeed be true. Even if there was a dog here, the girl would not feed it, since it would not like such prohibitions anyway. Baby decided that it was not very important and ignored the letter. She did not attach any importance to it and was not going to worry about something so small. She turned to Cecilia and said that she had eaten a sweet cake, but now she wanted dark chocolate. Her taste preferences were changing rapidly, and she wanted something new. Cecilia noted that she had heard Anas making chocolate. She decided that she should ask her if she could make one that Bebe would like. The lady did not object and decided to look out the window. She thought that perhaps the Archduke was talking about the silver coin and that it was connected with her current thoughts. While she was looking out the window, she suddenly heard the howl of a silver wolf. It was an unexpected sound, and she immediately began to listen, hoping to see it. But it seemed that the wolf was not going to come. Then she decided to throw a pebble and soon saw that the silver one had appeared. It was an unexpected event for her. A child with sparkling hair, the holy shine of which shines even through the foliage. A few days ago, Silver is a boy she met by chance when he picked up some discarded bread. At first, he seemed suspicious because he was silent and did not want to say his name. But over time, she herself did not notice how her vigilance weakened, since other people considered her suspicious too. During one of the meetings, she couldn't stand it and gave him the nickname Silver Yashka. At first he didn't like it, but over time he began to respond to her, and the most interesting thing is that he came to play with her only when she was alone. As soon as someone appeared, he immediately disappeared. and it seemed that he was not allowed to show himself to others. The girl asked if he heard the fight of the silver wolf, because she would like to hear it. The boy thought she liked silver wolves, and she confirmed it. After that, the maid came and said she had chocolate. Baby was surprised that she came so quickly. The woman said that Anas had some preparations. It's called chocolate praline. Inside, there are fruits and nuts. The girl was delighted and noted that it looked delicious, but she did not understand why there were so few of them. Cecilia said that she had already eaten the cookies and cake, and she brought some so that she could just try it. The boy left again, but Cecilia thought how wonderful it would be to eat with him. She really wanted to share a meal with someone, to feel that atmosphere of sharing a meal. Perhaps Anas should be asked to cook again, so that there would be enough for both of them. If she was working in the kitchen now, then she would need to go there and find her. That way, the girl could make sure that everything would be ready on time. Baby suddenly announced that she wanted to go to the kitchen, which surprised Cecilia. She did not expect the girl to show interest in the cooking process, because she rarely showed curiosity about the kitchen before. The little girl explained that she really likes it when delicious dishes are prepared in the kitchen, and she would be interested in simply watching the process. This was an unexpected and unusual idea for her, because she was usually not interested in this. Cecilia agreed and said that the girl could go anywhere since there were very few people in the kitchen. She assured that they could go there right now since they did not need to worry about anyone disturbing them. Baby was very happy with this proposal and suggested going right away. She was surprised by her own desire to see the kitchen because it had never occurred to her before, and now she was very interested in it. The maid thought that perhaps Baby actually wanted to go to the kitchen, not because she was interested in the cooking process, but to find and take more chocolate. She did not rule out this option. Baby didn't understand how the maid could understand this, because she didn't make any obvious hints. Cecilia noticed how her gaze changed when she saw the chocolate, and immediately understood that the girl would not resist the sweet. The girl was embarrassed and said that chocolate was simply the perfect food created by the gods. She added that it was impossible to tear yourself away from sweets, and for her, it was true love, which was easy to fall in love with. According to her, they say that chocolate is the favorite food of the gods, and she sincerely believed that it was true. Sweets were not just tasty for her, but some special magical pleasure, and she was completely absorbed in it. Cecilia agreed that chocolate was indeed the god's favorite treat, but warned that eating it in large quantities could be harmful. She suggested telling a story about a god who was very fond of chocolate. The maid said that this god loved chocolate so much that he couldn't stop eating it, and eventually became an evil devil. It was a scary example of how overindulgence in something can lead to disaster. Cecilia noted that it did sound scary and warned that overeating was dangerous. Baby responded by saying that even God couldn't stop, and she wouldn't be able to resist chocolate either, since she didn't see anything wrong with it. The girl admitted that there was nothing to be done, and asked the maid not to be upset about her love for chocolate. She promised that she would not eat too much, but still continued to enjoy the sweet in her heart. Cecilia was slightly offended by these words, because she was not sure that such an attachment to chocolate would bring only joy. She wondered if perhaps there was something in this story, and that God really did fall because of his passion. In any case, she thought that if it happened and she herself became obsessed with chocolate, it wouldn't bother her at all. She was ready to accept her fate if that was really the case. When they reached the kitchen, Cecilia invited the girl in. Baby was amazed by how the place looked. Everything around was unusual and suddenly became intriguing to her, although she did not expect to see such an atmosphere. Everyone in the kitchen turned to look at them, and Bibi felt like she was being looked at. It wasn't as scary as when the knights in the imperial palace looked at her, but she still felt a little awkward. Babe realized that the chefs did not mind her presence and felt confident. The chef approached her, introduced himself as Leo Plans, and greeted the girl, which was quite an unexpected and kind gesture on his part. He said that the owners usually do not come into the kitchen, so everyone was a little surprised by her visit. It was unusual, but the chef was happy to welcome her, which showed his friendly attitude. Baby admitted that she came here out of curiosity and was unsure whether she should go in. She was a little embarrassed, but still felt that her interest in the cuisine was genuine and did not irritate others. The chef thought that the girl was really interested in learning how food is prepared. She said that she always finds it interesting to watch chefs who, like magicians, create real culinary miracles from simple products. She also noticed that her favorite chocolate was often used in the kitchen, and the chef was pleased to hear this. He admitted that they thought that no one in the kitchen thought about such a small thing as attention to their work. All the cooks thanked her for her kind words, a little embarrassed by such attention. It was nice, and the atmosphere in the kitchen became even more friendly and warm, thanks to her sincere interest. The girl noticed that she had said everything she thought and had not said anything unnecessary. The chef offered to give her a tour of the kitchen so that she could learn more about the cooking process and see how everything was arranged. Babe did not object and agreed to the tour with interest. The chef began to tell that the mansion had not one but 5 kitchens each, of which was designed for different needs and to serve different types of guests. He explained that the main kitchen prepared food for her, and additional kitchens opened when there was a large number of guests to feed. This was a new discovery for the girl, and she was surprised by such a scale. Beebe thought that this meant that the main kitchen usually prepared her food. The chef confirmed her guess, adding that all the ingredients also came here, and this place was central to all culinary processes in the mansion. The girl noticed that there was wine in the kitchen, which was drinking its light color. The chef specified that this bottle had already been finished, and this became a subject for conversation, which the girl supported, being interested in the process. Bebe remembered that the boy had told her, when she came into the kitchen, to think about what the emperor had said about the poison in the wine. It was an important reminder for her, and she began to piece together all the details of that conversation. The girl realized that there was indeed poison in the wine, and this brought her thoughts back to the important warnings she needed to remember to be careful in any situations where danger might lurk. This Archduke, possessing a mindless thoroughness, pays great attention to the selection of people for various tasks. However, at a really important moment, he was unable to recognize the spy, which confirms his short-sightedness. He sent a young man with an outstanding talent for finding common ground with people to the Archduchy. His name was not so well known, but thanks to his skill, everything went smoothly and without unnecessary problems. Of course, the gentleman himself would not have been able to detect the poison, because even the cutlery had been replaced with ones that could not recognize it, which further complicated the task. Despite its potency, multiple doses of the poison have a strong effect on the body, causing it to weaken. The emperor claimed that the Archduke had been using the poison for a long time. The Archduke often drinks wine, and it was easy enough to mix a poison of the same color into his drink. This gave him the ability to control the situation without raising suspicion. The person responsible for the poisoning was a man with a name starting with K, and there is a high probability that he was sent by the emperor himself to eliminate the threat to his interests. The girl expressed a desire to see where the food was stored. He readily showed her the secret warehouse, which was so hidden that even his lordship had not bothered to inspect it. The wine cellar was where she finally found what she was looking for, and now she was curious about what else this warehouse was hiding. "This is where all the wine is," to which she replied that she really wanted to examine this place in more detail. It was a wine cellar, and although he doubted she was interested in its contents, he showed her around anyway. The girl said that she was really interested and was surprised that in addition to wine, there was also cheese stored there, which he did not expect. She was met by Caleb, who was in charge of the place. He welcomed her and explained that there were other things here besides wine, but she might find the warehouse boring. The girl asked what was inside, and Caleb, doubting her interest, noted that the warehouse might not be very interesting to her since it was dark and gloomy. Caleb was a master at hiding his true nature. His soft voice and slight shyness did not reveal his spy tendencies, making everyone doubt his intentions. If we carefully put all the facts together, we can definitely say that the Emperor introduced this man to carry out his hidden mission. Caleb invited her to explore the warehouse, but warned that if she became afraid, they would immediately leave without thinking. The girl did not object and agreed to go further. When they entered, she noticed that it was dark there, like in a real cave, which only added to the mystery. The gentleman agreed with her, explaining that such an environment helps maintain the necessary temperature for storing food, which is the most important thing in this place. He added that even slight changes in temperature can affect the taste of wine and cheese, so maintaining stability was critical. The girl was shocked and remarked that it was interesting whether he was the only one running this place. Caleb confirmed this and said that if several people were jealous of his cellar, all sorts of problems could arise. The girl also wondered if wine in barrels differed from wine in bottles. He said that what is stored in bottles arrived here before him. It is extremely expensive, so it is now being infused, and what is in barrels was brought by him. Then the girl realized that this meant that these barrels had been sent here with poisonous wine. She asked if her dad was drinking only that now. He confirmed it. This wine is exclusively for the owners of the estate. Although even the eldest daughter, the lady, has not yet reached adulthood, there is a slightly frightening atmosphere here. Therefore, it is suggested to look at other parts of the cellar among the products that are supplied together. There are many interesting things. So the girl agreed. She looked around the kitchen, figured out the spies, and she thinks that's enough for her today. It seemed to him that she had walked a lot today, so he offered to pick her up, but the girl said that everything was fine. The boss noticed that he was getting excited and noted that she was probably tired. Bebe said that it was a little, but she liked it. The gentleman was immensely happy that she not only showed interest, but was also impressed by what she saw. He said she could come any time if she wanted another tour. The kitchen workers are extremely interested in the owners. They are a little upset because the owners say whether the dishes they have prepared are good or not. The girl said not to worry because their dishes are very, very tasty. She probably wasn't afraid to be one of these many men. All thanks to her gentle look. The gentleman thanked the lady and asked her to tell him if he wanted to try something they would try their best. BB is very grateful. She said that she loves chocolate the most, and now she is already running. She turned to Cecilia and said that she liked everything very much, but the maid asked what she was talking about. BB liked the cuisine. The cooks even gave her cookies, and she is sure that they were happy to spend time with her. To be honest, it seemed to her that everyone liked her. Most of them were accepted into the kitchen solely for their skills. For this reason, none of them face much discrimination. Elsewhere, the influence and status of services varies depending on who they serve. Some master may even allow his subordinate to raise his hand against others. In other words, the master's authority is directly related to the servant's authority. At the moment, the most influential person in the estate is Lady Haras. Therefore, most of the onions work hard to find her favor. Baby believed that it was because they were being rude to her in order to present themselves in a good light in front of Haras. Cecilia said that the conflicts became very heated after her arrival. That is, the servants did not behave like this before. Most of them behaved the same way as the cooks, but there was no need to worry because no matter what, no one had the right to be rude to her. Beebe noted that she was not worried. On the contrary, she was happy now. The maid noted that she was a little worried when she said that she would go to the kitchen, but apparently she liked everything. Beebe thought long and hard about how to convey to the others that Caleb was actually a spy. The emperor assured her that the man was suffering from poison and that it must be very painful for him. She had heard that aristocrats tolerated poisons well and carried various devices that helped detect poisoning. However, Beebe remembered that even cutlery had been replaced with something that could not detect poison. If she was not mistaken, then the conversation about cutlery probably referred to this. So the first step was to get rid of the silverware, which could not help to detect the poison. Beebe noticed that there was a lot of silver cutlery in the kitchen and asked the maid why they used that particular one. She found it suspicious and strange. Cecilia noted Bebe's insight, explaining that silverware often helps detect poison and is used by aristocrats to protect themselves from poisoning as it easily reacts to toxic substances. BB admitted that she had overeaten sweets, so she decided that for an afternoon snack, she wanted to eat something more refreshing like fruit or something juicy and tasty. She also asked for the fruit utensils to be made of silver. The maid was surprised because she inspected the food and did not see the need for this. However, BB insisted on her own. The girl explained that she was simply tired of the old utensils. She was used to eating cookies and chocolates with her hands without using cutlery, so they seemed inconvenient to her. But for fruit, she decided that silverware would be ideal, so she insisted on getting just that. The maid agreed to go get some fruit and said that Baby would have to wait a little. The girl didn't object and was looking forward to her treat. When the maid returned, she brought fresh fruits. They were juicy and sweet, and Baby was grateful for the care, enjoying their taste. Her mood was improved by this gesture. BB started eating, and the fruit was incredibly delicious. The cup they were served in was a little too big, but that didn't stop her from enjoying the treat. The fork and spoon easily fit into the girl's pocket. This made her understand that she could begin to act already that night without arousing suspicion and calmly acting according to the plan. Cecilia thought that the mistress was about to go to bed, but Baby said that she urgently needed to go somewhere. The maid did not expect this and was a little surprised. The maid couldn't understand where the girl wanted to go at such a late hour, but Baby didn't give any details, leaving her in the dark and apparently deciding to act at her own discretion. Baby chose a teaspoon because it was the smallest. It was convenient for what she had to do, and she was preparing for the actions she planned. The girl said she wanted to visit her father, which surprised the maid. Cecilia wasn't sure if she could go at such a late hour, but she didn't mind. Cecilia admitted that, although it was not forbidden, the gentleman had not visited her recently. Baby noted that she also missed him and could not wait to see him. Cecilia understood the girl's feelings and confidently declared that the gentleman would be glad to see her. This made Baby feel better and even more eager to see her father. So, Cecilia suggested that they go right away, and Baby agreed. The girl was ready and couldn't wait to see her dad, despite the late hour. Before going out, the maid wanted to put a cardigan on Baby. It was warm and comfortable, and now they could set off to visit the master. But Baby asked for 1 second and went to the bed. Cecilia pointed out that she could take a toy with her, which was unusual, but the girl put the idea aside. Beebe explained that the penguin stayed there because it protected its mother. This was important to her, and she did not want to take the toy and leave it there. Cecilia noted that the penguin was really dear to Baby. The girl confirmed that it was important as the first gift she received from her brother. It was her first toy, not counting gifts from her parents. She treasured it the most because her brother gave it to her with a special meaning, and it remained important to her. The toy was very soft, and the penguin's cheeks were chubby. Cecilia didn't understand why Baby was so attached to the toy, but the girl also didn't know that it was her first toy. Cecilia, curious, asked when Baby's birthday was. She wanted to know the exact date because the girl seemed so unusual for her age. Baby replied that her birthday had already passed. She thought that her birthday was when she found herself here in this house with a new life and new impressions. Cecilia was surprised by her answer, but decided to change the subject. She suggested continuing on to the master, and Baby agreed, moving on to the next step of her plan. When they left, the guards noticed them and asked where the lady was going. Baby calmly replied that she wanted to visit the gentleman, and Cecilia pointed in the right direction. Finally, they arrived at the place, but Baby was surprised at how quickly they got there. It was the master's quarters, and his office was in another place, which surprised the girl. Baby was shocked when she saw that her father's room was almost next to her own. It was unexpected, and she didn't think that her chambers could be so close. Cecilia noticed that indeed the gentleman's room was located next door. He himself said that no other room would suit him, and this turned out to be true. The girl thought that her father was simply too lazy to move her and her mother, but it turned out that her room was closest to his chambers, which also mattered. Moreover, their doors had the same pattern. Cecilia explained that after the attack incident, the gentleman preferred to spend time in his room, close to his family. Bebe assumed it was for her and her mother's sake, to make them feel safe. It was a good idea, and she felt better about the idea. The servant met them, and the maid asked him to tell the master that the lady had arrived. Baby expected to be greeted with respect and was ready to continue her visit. The man apologized and said that the gentleman was busy with a guest, so Baby would have to wait. The girl did not understand why her heart was beating so fast from excitement. Babe couldn't explain why her heart was pounding so hard. She thought it was because she was nervous, but she still wondered why this moment was so important. Perhaps it would have been worth taking the penguin along for support. It was the first time the butler had watched the lady walk around the mansion. He had always seen her only from afar. Cecilia was a little scared when she saw the butler, but the man greeted her. It was unusual, and Cecilia was a little nervous, despite her calm appearance. Cecilia introduced the man as the butler, and Baby also greeted him, telling him her name. It was an important moment for her, and she felt a little awkward. The man reminded Baby that she should not only give her first name, but should introduce herself as Lady Baby Avalent, heiress of the family. This was an important point. He explained that she needed to introduce herself to others as the heir to the family line, not just Baby. After that, he gave her a strawberry lollipop thinking she would like it. The butler offered the girl a Chupa Chups, as his son also loved such sweets. Baby was happy to receive such a gift and thanked him for the tasty treat. She was very grateful for the sweets because it meant that the butler was a good man. This gesture was a pleasant surprise for the girl, and she smiled back. The butler noted that he would like to talk to the girl longer, but apparently she was busy. He suggested postponing the conversation for later, realizing that she needed to move on. Beebe thanked him and said that they would see each other again. After that, she was allowed to enter the master's room, and Cecilia remained waiting outside the door. The girl entered the room and saw her dad sitting on the couch thinking about something. She came up and said hello, feeling a little tense at the moment. Beebe noticed that they hadn't seen each other for a long time and asked what he was doing. Her voice was soft and her gaze penetrating, as if she wanted to know something important. The Duke was surprised by her visit to his chambers. He thought she had come to wish him sweet dreams, but he was willing to listen to her if that was indeed the case. Baby replied that she did not think it was necessary to say such words and asked if it was true that someone did that. The Duke mentioned that Haras always did that. Every day Haras came to say good night. He said Baby realized that she had not come for that, and that her visit was for another reason. The gentleman noticed that the girl obviously had another purpose. He did not object, but he wondered why she had decided to visit him at such a late hour. Bae knew he was drinking wine, and said she came for cheese. This was unexpected for the gentleman, who was sure she came for another reason. He was surprised by her words, thinking that she simply loved his wine. But Baby replied that in the kitchen, she was told that the gentleman had wonderful cheese. Xenox offered her a taste of the cheese, but when she took a bite, she immediately realized that it tasted terrible. It was not at all what she expected from such a treat. The cheese was like a dumpster, and its taste left much to be desired. The gentleman realized that she did not like his gift and tried to explain. Babe said the cheese story was made up. She added that no matter how you look at it, there is nothing tastier than candy, and it will always be her favorite. He assumed that his butler had given her the candy. Baby confirmed this and said that they had met right at his door and exchanged greetings. The Duke noticed that the girl clearly had another goal. He realized that she was not one to do something just for the sake of it, and decided to find out what she really wanted. Baby said that she also does things without any particular purpose. For example, today she went to the kitchen for chocolates because she wanted them. The gentleman decided to find out what had really brought the girl to his chambers. Baby hesitated, not knowing how to answer, but he noticed that there was something strange in her behavior. The Duke said that if it came from this, that he could not protect her mother, then he was sorry. But the girl said that this was not so, and she foresaw that someone would appear when her mother was left alone. So she set the trap. And she also cast a strong spell on Mom. So there is no need to apologize, but if he is truly sorry, then he must find the culprit. The Duke said he was putting his name on the line. Baby asked what the phrase about not feeding the dogs even meant. Xenox said that's what it meant. He thought someone had been feeding the dogs lately. The girl said that there were no dogs on his estate. That's true, but she did throw something out of the window, and because of that stray dogs came running to them. But the girl said that she didn't understand what he was talking about, because she didn't throw anything out of anywhere. The Duke asked her not to change the subject, and to tell him why she came. Baby said that it was nothing special, but there was one reason: if she became useful, then he should fulfill her request. He assumed she was talking about that one. The girl said, almost, but she wasn't asking to fulfill a request for nothing. It was a kind of exchange. She will give him a gift in exchange for fulfilling his request. A gift that will prove her strength. Beeb hoped that her dad didn't suspect her of anything, and she hoped that something strange would happen if she found out about the poison. The Duke asked what was wrong with her and assumed that she was sleepy, but the girl denied it and told him to tell her how much they trusted their people. He was surprised and asked again. The girl said that during their first meeting, she promised to make him emperor, and for that, the issue of trust had to be sorted out first. He noticed that she often said strange things. The girl told her father that she had an incredible power that allowed her to see different futures. In each of them, he dies. She assured him that thanks to her power, she had seen a future where he died in every possible version of events. This was a difficult discovery for her. The Duke was not very surprised by her words. Then the girl explained that such things cannot be taken lightly, and they must be taken seriously. The father was shocked by her reaction and was surprised that she considered him frivolous because he never thought that her words could be perceived that way. She said that he had no will and no purpose in life, that he himself was perfectly aware of it. Perhaps the girl was right, and indeed he felt lost. Babe insisted that he not say that, assuring him that she would save him and make him emperor since he was her father and she had to help him achieve greatness. The man was shocked by her words, especially that she intended to act this way only because he was her father. This was an unexpected revelation for him. The girl asked him to love life again, find a purpose, and strive for power to win the throne. She believed that it was possible and that he was capable of more. She declared that she must help him take revenge on the emperor. And in order to do this, he must pull himself together and begin to act decisively. The girl scooped up some cheese on her fork and handed it to the Duke. He was surprised that she offered him to eat the whole portion because it was quite large. Baby insisted that he cheer up, and when he started eating, he was amazed at her stubbornness. It was unexpected for him, but she did not give in. The girl hoped that he would take her words as support and not as ridicule. Fortunately, he confirmed that he really appreciated her efforts. She decided to return to the issue of trusting her people, assuring that it is important to be attentive to each of them. The Duke admitted that he did not trust everyone, and that some of his subjects aroused his doubts. After the assassin incident, he tried to figure out which of the estate's workers could be the culprit. However, it turned out to be much more complicated than he expected. He couldn't find any evidence of who had hired the killer, so he had only guesses. These guesses remained unconfirmed, and he didn't know what to do with them. The girl was glad to hear that he did not trust all his servants, because she was afraid that her father might be too naive. Baby breathed a sigh of relief, but her father, noticing her reaction, asked what exactly was bothering her. The girl assured him that she would help him if he trusted her, despite the fact that she herself still did not know much. This was her promise, but in order to look confident, she decided to show determination and began to hold a spoon, which seemed strange. The Duke was surprised when she did this. The girl wanted to demonstrate how close the enemy could sneak up, and this should have alerted him. She said she was detecting the poison in an attempt to explain her suspicions to him and see if there was a real threat. The Duke, confused, asked if she really claimed that someone had tried to poison him. The girl confirmed her fears. He reminded her that all the dishes in the house were made of silver, and the poison could not have gone unnoticed since it could have been detected immediately. The girl noticed that he was right, but added that the dishes could have been replaced with ones that did not have this function. This really surprised the Duke. She began to doubt whether she had made a mistake. Perhaps the attacker had not mixed the poison. It was unclear to her. The girl was worried that if she made a mistake, she might lose her father's trust, which was extremely important to her. But the moment she changed color, the Duke was horrified. He realized that there really was danger. He began to suspect that there was a spy or someone in the estate who wanted to harm him. This was an important moment for him. He admitted that for the past 5 years since Allison's death, he had been consumed by grief and had ignored the threats, but now everything had changed. During the time when Allison was alive, the estate was strictly guarded, and it was only after her death that criminals entered its territory. The Duke blamed himself for not noticing the attempted poisoning, but the girl convinced him that he had been deceived and could not have foreseen everything. He continued to consider himself guilty, but she repeated that she could not have immediately understood that the dishes had been replaced with dangerous ones. The girl reminded him that if he constantly considered himself stupid, it would actually affect his actions. He shouldn't think that way. And if he called himself stupid, then everyone would start thinking his daughter was stupid too. That bothered her, and she didn't want him to think that. The Duke smiled, noting that her support was unusual but very effective. He was surprised how much it actually helped. He needed to quickly identify the spy and deal with him. He couldn't understand how someone dared to put poison in his food. Beebe asked him to think about it because there could be several spies. The Duke was surprised and asked if there were more such people. The girl knew that there were several spies, but she could not say who exactly, since she was not sure of her conclusions. In the past, she had no interest in the Archduchy, and she had not listened much to the Emperor's conversations, so her memories were rather vague. She did remember some details, including the events with the wine and silverware which were important to her investigation. The girl hinted at wine and silverware, claiming that although she could not say for sure, these were important details that could help in solving the mystery. BB suggested that if they were to be caught, they should be caught at once, which she thought would be a good idea for a successful operation. She believed that if she caught one, the others would simply hide or run away. Baby was pleased to see her father become more determined. The girl hoped that this was the very face of the Archduke that Cecilia had spoken of. She had always seen him from a different side, but now he seemed to have perked up. Then the Duke took her in his arms, and the girl asked him in surprise what he was doing. She did not understand why he did this. The Duke apologized, explaining that he had simply forgotten. He added that Haras loved it when he hugged her, and it had become a habit for him. The girl said she forgave him for it, but added that he should be more careful next time. The Duke promised to be careful. He realized that she was making important steps and was glad that she was helping him. The girl immediately responded that it was important to her. She expressed hope that her resourcefulness helped to avoid misunderstandings and acknowledged that this was important for their mutual understanding. The girl confirmed that this was true and said that her father now understood how important and useful she was to him in these events. She asked him to officially recognize her as his daughter so that their connection would be not only by blood but also by status. Then she can wake up her mother and prove her usefulness, and she thinks that she will be able to feel more confident here. The girl couldn't understand why he was silent, She thought that something else was needed for him to adopt her. She was sure that for this to happen, she had to do more than just express a desire. Her father asked her if this was really all she wanted. She was surprised by his question, not understanding why he was saying it so easily. It was a very important thing for her, but he did not share her excitement. The gentleman didn't even know what to say and asked for forgiveness. He explained that he couldn't do what she was asking. She didn't understand why it wasn't possible, because it meant so much to her. The girl felt that he had acted unfairly because she had worked so hard for this. She had put a lot of effort into her endeavor, and her disappointment was deep. The Duke said that questions about this could be resolved later, since she was already baby Evlant. The girl was surprised by this statement, not understanding what exactly he meant. He said that she was already his daughter, and that he planned to officially adopt her, giving her his last name. This proposal surprised her, but she could not help but believe his words. The paperwork was already done, so now she had to think about another wish. Everything was ready to complete the process, and she could ask for something else besides adoption. If you remember, the butler already called her by the master's surname. He did not announce it publicly, but she was already part of this family, the fourth child. He asked her not to dwell on questions of usefulness anymore, because she was already valuable to this family. She was important, and he didn't have to prove anything to her. The girl asked again, and he confirmed that he did not want to hear any more words from her about any other demands. She was already a part of their life, and her value did not depend on additional conditions. Bebe really became part of the family, the fourth child. But she thought about it and asked why the fourth and not the fifth, since Haras was still in their family. She was supposed to be the fifth, since Haras was her older brother. The gentleman replied that she was not yet officially considered his daughter, and therefore her place was not yet secured. She couldn't understand why this was so, and the gentleman explained that there was still no exact evidence to consider her an official daughter. Everything depended on the results of the investigation. The girl noticed that everything already pointed to the fact that she was his child. She could not understand why this was not acknowledged, because the facts were obvious. The Duke said that everything was not clear yet. The girl was surprised and asked why he had accepted her into the family if there were still doubts. Zenox said that she had earned her place in this family. As for Haras, he had never even seen her as a baby, so more data was needed. By the way, he asked if she would continue to use the name Baby. It was the name her mother had given her, and he wondered how she would address it in the future. The girl was surprised and asked again, and he noted that the current emperor could recognize her by this name and appearance. He claimed that he would adopt her if she continued to use this name. He explained that the documents needed to have his seal on them, and using Baby's name could attract the attention of the emperor. It could change her future if she wasn't careful. The girl said that her mother gave her this name, and she valued it very much. She wanted to keep it because it was connected to her family and her present. She explained that the name Bebe was her identity, and it was important to her. If he didn't understand that, then she had no choice, and she wasn't going to change it. The girl said she wanted to ask her mother when she woke up, since she was the one who came up with the name. She wasn't going to make a decision without her input. The gentleman agreed that it would be better to talk to Mom first, and suggested that she make another wish. He did not insist on changing her name if it was important to her. Bibi replied that she had no other wish, and the gentleman was surprised that this was her only wish. He expected her to ask for something more. He suggested thinking about it and asking for something more significant, such as a rare sword, a large mine, or jewelry like Haras had. However, the girl did not want it. He continued to offer her various gifts, but she remained of the opinion that what she had already received was enough for her, and she did not need more. The gentleman thought he should do something for her, but she didn't want anything. She insisted on her own, and then finally she came up with her wish. She asked for a small house for herself and her mother, so that they could live together like ordinary people. This was her main wish, and she dreamed of such simple happiness. The house didn't have to be big, but it was important to be cozy and have space for two people. She wanted flowers to grow near the house, creating an atmosphere of coziness and beauty. She also wished for a library to be nearby, as she and her mother loved to read books. This was her ideal place to live with her mother. This was her true wish, and the master agreed to fulfill it. He promised that he would do everything as she asked, and her dream would come true. He asked if she was sure she didn't want something more serious. He expected that she might change her mind, but the girl confirmed that what she asked for was enough for her. The gentleman was surprised that she did not wish for something more valuable. He thought that since she wanted to become his daughter, she might have many other wishes. The girl said that it was enough for her that he would protect her. She relied on him, and that was enough for her happiness. He said that since she had already read his letter, she would now be able to understand this too. He handed her the scroll and waited for her to understand what it was he wanted to tell her. When the girl took the scroll, she asked him what kind of documents they were. He replied that she would understand as soon as she began to read, and explained that it was an important message for her. Her name was written on the scroll, and she immediately realized that these were adoption papers. Everything fell into place in her head, and she felt relief. The gentleman thought that she would be pleased to see such documents, and she confirmed that this was indeed the case. Now that everything was ready, she needed to wake up her mother and share the joy. The girl was so excited that she already wanted to show it to her mother. She was happy, because now she had a home, and she and her mother could live together, as they always dreamed. The Duke noticed that she loved her mother very much. The girl warmly confirmed that this was true, but her attitude towards him was a little different because for her, he remained a stranger. The Duke, after a moment's thought, asked if she could love him as she loved her mother. He hoped that she would understand that he was now a part of her life too. The girl did not understand why he asked that, and immediately remembered that when a person changes unexpectedly, it is often a sign of illness. She could not understand what was happening to him. After that, she took his hand, trying to understand what he wanted to say. He asked what it meant and was surprised by her reaction, not knowing what she meant. Baby had heard that a person who changes abruptly may be sick. She began to worry about his health, although he assured her that he felt fine and was not sick. He assured her that he had no illnesses, but the girl began to suspect that something was wrong with him, and that perhaps he was simply acting strangely because he was not himself. She noticed that his behavior was becoming increasingly strange, especially his habit of lifting the corners of his lips as if he were trying to smile. This confused her, and she did not understand what was wrong with him. He told her that she must have imagined that he was smiling. He tried to justify himself, but the girl could not shake the feeling that something was wrong with his behavior. The girl said that, as for her mother, he should forgive her, but that was impossible. She couldn't imagine him being as close to her as her mother. He asked her to at least love him like the penguin he gave her. The girl couldn't understand why he asked her to love him like that, and it seemed strange to her. She didn't understand how much longer this would go on, because even the penguin was more important to her than Alan. He was like no one else in her life, and she didn't understand why he continued to torture her with this question. The girl said that the penguin was the most necessary and important thing to her. She could not understand why he continued to insist on loving him when she had clearly expressed her affection for other things. Baby said she hoped he was just kidding because she didn't understand why he had to demand her love so much. He already had everything he could want, and it was weird to her. The girl said that this wouldn't do, and he shouldn't drink wine anymore. It seemed to have a bad effect on him. He thought that she was just worried about him, and the girl said that this was so because he couldn't die early. He had to live a long, long life. The gentleman told me to worry because it will happen after all. In his past life, he seemed cold and ruthless, but now she doesn't feel threatened by him. Maybe it's because he's so handsome. Mom and Dad may be together, but her mom definitely won't fall for it. The gentleman noticed that her facial expression changed literally every second. She is sometimes happy, sometimes unhappy, sometimes surprised. He sees how all these emotions replace each other, one after another. The girl said that it was not true. She had a stone face. He suggested getting back to the topic. It's too early to rejoice. Besides her name, there is another reason why he hasn't made an official announcement yet. The girl was surprised and asked what about him. It seems that the matter does not end with documents. Everything is very complicated. The gentleman said that on the one hand, the reason is serious, but on the other hand, it is trivial. Many of his fat do not understand why he wants to adopt her. The girl didn't expect them to love her. For them, she is an unknown person who appeared from an unknown place, and he knows it. He knows about her power. Then she knows that she is the daughter of the previous emperor, but I don't know the vassals. And even if I do, I probably think that the reason for the adoption is something else. So she said that she thinks so too. But it was interesting to see how the situation would develop further, because the meaning of this piece of paper would disappear if it was not made public. Without the disclosure of its contents, it would lose all value. This is especially true for those efforts that may be in vain if there is no consent from the emperor. Having thought about everything, it can be noted that there have always been difficulties on the way to the goal, so there is no need to be disappointed. The girl said that she was not worried about the situation. She was sure that a solution would be found, and she was ready for any difficulties. Therefore, the gentleman asked if everything was okay, if she was worried. She replied that everything was as usual. The shorter the journey, the harder it would be. However, she'd already gotten used to such circumstances, so she was not worried about them. He thought that maybe she was upset, but the girl confirmed that she was not. She said that no matter how sad she was, everything would remain the same and nothing would change. It was commendable, and he said that if she was so determined, she could do everything to make this document public. Let it be an important step for everyone. It was wonderful, and she could use the opportunity to demonstrate her power. It was a chance to show the strength she possessed. The Archduchy of Iveland respected her, so he offered her to respond to those who expressed dissatisfaction, those who did not believe in her powers, as well as those who kept her locked up without reason. He thought it was a good way to resolve all the problems, and was looking forward to hearing her opinion to see how she would feel about it. The girl agreed, because now some people would definitely start showing interest in her power. He had to be sure that she was ready to cope with this challenge. B said she was willing to do anything to get adopted. If the plan worked, she would be able to get her mother back, which was the most important thing to her. Nothing else mattered to her. She was sure that if everything worked out, no one would be able to hurt her and her mother anymore. He liked her optimism. He noticed her zeal to achieve the goal. He said that it was necessary to prepare everything necessary for further actions. Bibi asked if she really could stop worrying about anything. He confirmed it and said that the first thing they would do was go to the forest. The girl was surprised and asked again. The weight surrounds the estate. She heard that there would be silver wolves there. The proportion of imperial blood that flows in the veins of the Iveland family has greatly diminished over time, and at the very beginning, the Archduchy was a gathering of losers. According to history books, the founders of the empire were two royal families of the tiny kingdom of Rahel. They dealt with the tribes that inhabited this land and laid the foundation of an empire. In the end, one became an emperor and the other an archduchess. Bebe never expected to hear that. As a result, the state of Raheladuard emerged, borrowing the title from the kingdom of Rahel. And this is where the problem arose. We need to know who will ascend to the throne. The wise and talented Evlant, or the younger brother Cloud, always chasing easy prey.